There's already 200 people in here. Welcome in. If you're just tuning in, make sure to say what's good in that chat. I'm going to try to say hi to some people when we're just starting up the stream here. What's going on, Emily? What's up, MIA? What's going on, Dante? What's up, Mana and JVD and Eli and Jess and Kat? Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome into the stream. You guys are the early birds. Now, I bet a lot of you guys have been an early bird before, so you know exactly what to do. Now, if you haven't been an early bird before, what I need you to do is I need you to start double tapping away on that phone screen. I need us to get up to 100,000 likes so incredibly fast. Everybody start double tapping your fingers. Also, share out this live with a handful of friends. 1,000 shares is our goal. If you don't have friends, first of all, don't worry, I don't either. And second of all, if you copy the link, it'll do the same thing. Third of all, make sure that you're spamming that comment section. The reason why we are always so hyper-fixated on the early engagement with a live is because it is that early engagement that helps this live push out on that For You page to draw the MAGA crazies into debate. Nonetheless, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My man is obsessed with you. Well, I already just know because you're dating him that he's a fucking phenomenal stand-up guy, okay? Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the stream. I'm going to go ahead and get my main account in the guest queue so we could load that up to get the Noti gang from the main account all up in here. If you are MAGA, if you are a Republican, I want you to hop in that damn queue literally right now, okay? We are going to get the debates underway. We are going to waste no time, and we are going to have a good day. How does that sound, ladies and gentlemen? By the way, it's January the 6th. 4 years ago on this day, Trump caused the biggest internal attack on our democracy since the Civil War. Regardless, we are going to go ahead and hop into the debates for the first 1.5 thousand people. Welcome into the stream. And what's up, Tommy? Did you vote for Trump?
I did, yes.
You did? Awesome. And why is that, Tommy?
Well, honestly, look, I'm going to be different than a lot of people you have on this on your podcast. Live, whatever you call it. First of all, I just want you to know, I love what you're doing. I love watching. I actually really like you as a person. Nothing against you. A lot of times people come on and like really disrespectful to you or whatever, so I'm not going to do that. I respect everyone's opinions. For me, look, honestly, I was really torn. I think Kamala is betterly, probably morally than Trump. I think the indictments, all that stuff kind of pisses me off. Like, I don't think Trump's a great guy. I really don't. I don't think anyone should. For me, honestly, as knowing someone that got killed by fentanyl, I was really kind of upset.
Fuck, Tommy. Dude, I'm sorry, man. You caught such a stray there. Dude, he was like the nicest Trump supporter we've had up here in like forever. Tommy, the reason I kicked you out of the live is because you said the name of that particular thing. Like all the names of DRUGS completely
Please let me drizzle
banned.
barbecue sauce on your toes. I love you, please.
What
Oh my
the
god.
fuck? So all of those words are banned of like the FDRUG, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm so sorry, man. I really wanted to have a conversation with you, and I'm so sorry that had to happen. But regardless, if you're one of the 2.2 thousand people watching, first of all, welcome into the stream. Howdy ho. Second of all, hop in that queue if you voted for Trump. We don't really have that many right now. So if you hop in the queue, if you spam MAG in the chat, I will definitely bring you up. Hello. Did you vote for Trump?
Hey, Dean, you didn't dress up as Santa and come down my chimney.
Ew, weird. Get out of here. Leave. Judy's coming up. Guys, stop it, please. Hi, did you vote for Trump?
Yes, I sure did.
You sure did? Yeah, you sure did vote for Trump? Yeah.
No, I'm joking. Oh my god, wait, you're like the famous guy.
Okay. Bye. We're going to move on to our next guest. We got Mason loaded up into the box. For the 2.4 thousand people in here, guys, make sure that we're double tapping away in that phone screen. Let's try to get up to 500,000 likes, ladies and gentlemen. Also, share out this stream with a handful of friends. What's up, Mason? Did you vote for Trump? I don't know how to respond to people when they call me famous, so I just simply choose not to. Like, I'm not going to, like, I went to a restaurant last night, and they're like, oh my God, you're famous. Logan, hi, did you vote for Trump?
No, I didn't vote, but I just came on here to spread some hate.
Bye, Logan. All right, we're going to try to get Mason back up here, because maybe Mason voted for Trump. Well, hello, did you vote for Trump?
Yeah, I did.
You did? Okay, you can't vote for Trump in middle school. Skedaddle.
Yeah, shut up, bitch. Kill yourself.
Dude, I just got called a bitch by a 12-year-old? Dude. I'm gonna tell your mother. Okay, all right. She's gonna rinse. She's gonna make you to rinse your mouth out with soap. Raina, what's up? Did you vote for Trump? Raina, hello. Okay, they left. All right, guys, spam MAGA in the chat. We're just looking for next debate, y'all. The first debate's always the hardest. It's typically out, guys, but you know, if you're typically early to the streams, you know that. Friar, good to see you. Thank you for the hand hearts. What's up, man? Did you vote for Trump?
Yeah, I do, man. How are you?
How am I? I'm good. Did you vote for Trump?
Oh, I'm 51. You look too young to be doing this, man.
I know more than you about politics. Sorry about it.
I know.
So,
I'm not saying you don't know than me, but just saying.
did you vote for Trump?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Why?
Well, you know, he's the best since 2016, 17, and we decided to give him a chance, so we're just celebrating right now.
You know, watch this. Name one of his policies that you like.
Well, I like the border, man. We gotta close the border. I'm from Venezuela, and we need this border closed. We got an invasion here.
Okay, so are you an immigrant from Venezuela, as in you are an American citizen that could vote, or do you like literally live in Venezuela?
No. I'm citizen here from like 30 years ago.
Cool. So yeah, I asked you to name one of his policies. You just literally said like a slogan, close the border. What's his policy to close the border?
No, I don't say that's a policy. That's what I want, you know. So
well, I know that's what you want, but I didn't ask you
know,
what you want. I asked you to name a
I know into politics. I know into politics. It's just I'm telling you what we want, like a regular people. You know, I know you're so smart.
I didn't ask you that. I asked you to name a policy of his.
If some people we don't care about the politics, we don't care about their result, and we get result with Donald Trump.
Okay. So you don't know any Trump policy. So in the same way you told me that I'm too young to be having these conversations, you're too uneducated to be having these conversations.
No, I'm not saying that. I mean.
Yeah, sorry. The only reason I kicked you is because of the too young comment. I mean, if you meant that seriously, then I meant my comment seriously. It seems like we're at between a rock and a hard place.
How's it going, bro? Jubilee.
What's going
Man,
on?
watching you on Jubilee, and now I'm on the stream.
Hell yeah! Did you vote for Trump?
Yes, I did.
And why did you do that?
It came down to a multitude of reasons, mainly economic, foreign policy, immigration. We could also talk about stuff that I don't like, depending on what you want to get into.
Economics. Let's start there since that's the first thing you named. So, how about we start here? Can you name one piece of legislation Trump passed during his first 4 years that benefited members of the low and the middle class more than rich people?
Yeah, I would say the USMCA trade deal was a little bit better than NAFTA. It did implement about $1.4 trillion in trade. Let me ask you a question, though.
USMCA was good. Do you like that? You like the USMCA?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay, so then you definitely don't like his proposed tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and every other import, right?
Actually, that's one thing is obviously a lot of Trump supporters will come up here and be like, hey, tariffs aren't going to benefit. I mean, it's not going to be a downfall of the average American, but universal tariffs are actually a bad thing at the end of the day. But it's also how you manage the actual tariff.
So it absolutely will be a
mind if I
downfall
adjust my AirPod?
Yeah. So yeah, tariffs actually definitely will impact the average American. I mean, we already know some ways that they will, but overwhelmingly they cause inflation. They introduce redundancies and they reduce our own exports. And I just find it quite hypocritical to say that the USMCA trade deal was really good when it literally just aimed to reduce tariffs between us, Canada, and Mexico, and then sit here and defend Trump, even though he's now pushing an increase to 25% flat tariffs on Canada and Mexico.
Yeah, but obviously we also saw how he managed the economy before. We saw a low interest rate. It was about the same as Obama's. But talking about tariffs overall, obviously we had that universal electric car tariff of about 200%. Obviously, you know as well is we still got about 200 of the same tariffs that we had during the Joe Biden administration. So let me ask you a question. Is obviously you're a smart guy. Don't you? Because looking at it from my perspective, I think if he's already implemented tariffs in a good way, that he can implement it also in a good way as well.
You're saying, now correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, it's just a little bit difficult for me to understand the arguments of the people I talk to sometimes. You're saying he implemented tariffs in a good way during his first administration, therefore he will implement his tariffs in a good way during his second administration. First of all, I'd say that the tariffs he implemented during his first administration were bad. You're going to respond and you're going to say that Biden kept those tariffs, and you're right, they were still bad. They reduced U.S. agricultural exports because it started a trade war between us and China. It created inefficiencies. But what I can say is tariffs on China are much more defensible than a flat tariff on all goods imported into the country. Blanket tariffs are bad. There's no way around it. There's no reason to do it. They just hurt American consumers, especially right now. Like, for instance, we have a housing crisis in America. Living is too expensive. Ask the average American. That's what they'll tell you. And do you think that tariffing woods imported from Canada and steel imported from Mexico will make the construction in new houses more expensive or less expensive?
Well, yeah, I actually want to ask you, as somebody who ended up voting for Kamala, how do you feel about the housing policy that she proposed? Because I looked into it. It sounded good on paper, but it really, I have some questions to be able to ask you as well.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately speaking, the $25,000 subsidy for first-time homebuyers to buy newly constructed properties would introduce about 3 million new homes in the next 4 to 8 years, which I think is a good thing. I think it's the only pressure that we've seen from our federal government in like modern U.S. history post-pandemic to actually do anything about it. And I'd love for you to talk about that, but I'd also like you to tell me what Trump's housing affordability plan is, because as far as I'm aware, he literally doesn't have any policy to make housing more affordable in our country. Meanwhile, his own policy will make it less affordable for the reasons that I already mentioned. So he wants to make the construction of new homes more expensive via his tariffs.
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, I do want to talk about Kamala Harris's housing policy, but Trump's overall housing policy is he wanted to make tax-free bonds from the government that people would be able to invest in so people could be able to get a mortgage rate at 3%. When you introduce about a $25,000 tax credit, I think it's just giving money and almost just like printing out money and just handing it to people in that type of way. Now, I do understand that if you own a house, you're more likely to care about your environment. I think that's something that we can all agree in. But the one thing as well is you got to be able to notice that about 60% of single family homes will be owned by 3 hedge funds by 2030. BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard.
Yeah, and Kamala Harris was also running on restricting, big corporations from buying single-family properties, and I think that that may have been included within Trump's own campaign. So that was a bipartisan issue that they both agreed on, which was a good thing. Secondarily, you're saying that Trump wanted to introduce tax-free bonds. Never heard about that. But I ultimately think the most important bit of information that you shared with us was like a reduction in interest rates. I don't think he has any plan for that. If anything, his policy will actually increase interest rates because it has inflationary pressures, and of course the Feds increase the interest rates to create a reduction in the rate of inflation because of his tariffs. So not only will his tariffs make the lumber and the steel from Canada and Mexico more expensive, meaning that new houses are more expensive, but because his policy has such overwhelmingly inflationary pressures, we could actually see increases in that interest rate once again. In fact, that's already what a lot of financial institutions are seeing. For instance, I want you to call like your local bank. For instance, if they offer wealth management, I want you to talk to a financial advisor, lie to them about having $1 million that you want to invest in them, and ask them for their forecasts on liquid cash in 2025. What they'll tell you is that the Feds might increase the interest rates, and that's a new prediction. So.
Man, that sucks because I'm trying to own a home, man. I'm trying to have a family. I'm trying to have kids, beautiful house. But yeah, man. So real quick, I do want to ask you is, I think you've been up on the stage and mentioned this multiple times. I'm typically not on the live streams, but what's some of the reasons to why you didn't vote for Trump?
Yeah, sure. I want to go over those secondarily. I mean, I kind of wanted us to flesh out the
real quick,
problem a little bit more.
Because my AirPods are like 5%. If for some reason I might have to take it out, go over voice, and if it echoes, let me know.
You're good. But I just wanted you to kind of respond to the whole housing crisis thing. Kamala Harris's policy would have created more houses, making them more affordable in the long term, while offering $25,000 to first-time home buyers now. And her policy had less inflationary pressure than Trump's, meaning that interest rates would have been lower under Kamala Harris compared to Trump. Trump, on the other hand, wants to drive up the price of new construction via his tariffs. And because his policy is more inflationary than Kamala Harris's, the probability of us seeing higher rates in the future is more likely. So overwhelmingly, for housing, Kamala Harris was a better solution. Can you agree to that conclusion? And if you don't agree to that conclusion, please tell me why.
Yeah, for sure. You point out a bunch of individual points. So correct me if I kind of go off track. But you did mention about the individual tariffs. Like I mentioned before, is I hope that he's able to mitigate the actual losses, and he's able to use it in, like, for example, we've seen him like how he dealt with NATO before, how he actually negotiates and talks about, hey, we're not going to allow you to do it. I do think he's a pretty good negotiator, and I hope that it can implement not having the tariffs on for a long time. Obviously, it's used as a strategic, or it can be a universal tariff.
Yeah.
But what was some of the other points you mentioned? Oh yeah, you mentioned the
To that first
interest
point,
rates.
that's just pure. That's pure speculatory. Yes, I'm just gonna be cut and dry. Like,
actually,
the whole thing about him
100%.
like not actually implementing the tariffs and just using them as a tool to negotiate, like pure speculatory. If
Well,
anything,
no. I
Trump
think
has
he
been
is
telling
going
us.
to implement the tariffs, but
Okay.
at the end of the day, I hope that he mitigates it well, because I think of him as
It
a
won't
pretty
be.
good business.
It won't be
that's
mitigated.
speculation
No, it's not speculation, because in order for us to offset the increase in the prices caused by the tariffs, for instance, on Canadian lumber imports, we'd actually have to build out infrastructure in the U.S. so we could be producing it at the same price that won't be impacted by the tariff, and we don't have that infrastructure. It's like we literally do not have the productive capacities, right, in America to produce lumber, for instance, to the same degree as Canada does. So it's more expensive if we produce it here, and because we're imposing that tariff on Canadian lumber, when we import it, ultimately that price will be passed off to the consumer or the producers of new construction. So it's not speculatory to say that ultimately we will see an increase in the price of new lumber.
No, definitely. And I'm not too educated on what individual would be better making it over in the United States. But like, for example, like I
Holy
mentioned
shit,
before,
Dario! Thank you so much for the
Send a
thank you so much
galaxy,
for the
man.
private jet.
Man, you
I
making that
appreciate
money.
that,
You
Dario.
making that
Everybody,
TikTok money, man.
please show some love to Dario in the chat. Very thankful to the individuals donated. I do appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much for the love. So overwhelmingly, once again, Kamala Harris, better for housing. She had housing affordability plan, $25,000 subsidy, creates new houses, reduces the price now and in the long term. Plus, her policy was less inflationary than Trump's, especially the tariffs, meaning that the raw materials to build new houses would have been cheaper, and there would have been a higher probability for lower interest rates from the feds. That's the argument. 3 sentences long, super easy to understand. What's the refutation?
No, definitely. Like I mentioned before, the $25,000 tax credit, I don't agree with that. I don't think we should just be handing out $25,000 to be able to. I think we got to be able to focus on why the housing prices are the way that it is. And obviously, in the past 3 to 4 years, we noticed housing prices double. And you just go to the local market and you notice that everything's way more expensive. It's known. Now, like you mentioned before, is that comes down to inflation. Inflation went to an all-time high of an average of about 4.5% during Joe Biden's period, and Trump had about a 1.4% inflation rate. That's according to NASDAQ. You can look it up. But yeah, go ahead. You put your hand up.
Yeah. So to your
I'm
first point,
calling
you
you.
said that you don't think that we should be handing out money like that. I see no reason why it's a bad thing. So her overall economic policy was indicated to cost 2.4 trillion. Okay, close to a quarter of what Trump's is expected to cost at 8.4 trillion. Secondarily, she knew how she wanted to pay for it. It wouldn't have added a dollar to the overall debt of our country in the 10-year lifespan of the bill. Meanwhile, Donald Trump hasn't announced any plan to pay for his. So this whole idea that the left wants to hand out money and the right doesn't is completely false, contorted, and ultimately backwards. Okay. Additionally, you said that we should be addressing the systemic root causes of why houses are more expensive, and in part it does. One of the reasons houses are more expensive now is because there hasn't been as much new construction. One point of that $25,000 subsidy is to create artificial demand for new houses, because you're literally giving people free money to go out and put a down payment on a house. So we build more houses, okay, right? And obviously, when you create more demand for something, the price goes up. And that $25,000 subsidy was meant to offset that, so we could create new houses while accounting for the price going up, while in the long term, just having a larger supply of houses. So it addresses issues in the short term and in the long term. Not to mention, she also had a plan to ban big corporations from buying single-family homes. So I just wanted to, kind of detail that in a little bit more of a comprehensive light. I don't really think that you rebutted anything.
I mean, like I mentioned before, I do think that. Let me ask you a quick question. Do you think the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was beneficial?
I think it had some benefit to it. I don't think it was the best it could have been. I think Kamala Harris's policy was better.
Okay. No, definitely. And how would you feel about the tax-free bonds from the government that people would be able to get around a 3% mortgage rate?
Tax-free? I mean, how much are the bonds for?
I have no idea. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, that's gonna be really important to understand what the bonds are for. I mean, who they're gonna be offered for. I mean, cool, I guess. I mean, I don't really think that people are really taking advantage of bonds for like buying houses or things like that. I don't know.
Okay, no, just sounded pretty good on paper. Like for example,
I think it's like
what?
pretty inconsequential. I don't really see how that is relevant to what we're talking about.
Okay, and overall with the actual housing, a lot of people will make the argument talking about, hey, immigrants are buying up housing. What would be your rebuttal to that? Like illegal immigrants.
Okay. And by the way, I just want to let you know that municipal bonds actually already have a tax exempt status. And like there's, some debate on if Trump will make them non-tax exempt. Undocumented migrants buying houses, if they're buying a house, they're a productive provider into our economy, which is good.
Okay, no, definitely. Now let me ask you, you mind if we move over to immigration, or do you want to cover some more points about the housing?
I don't really know if you gave me a rebuttal to anything I said.
Well, I think I did. For example, like I mentioned before, is when we're talking about the USMCA trade deal, we noticed a lot of stuff deals with Canada in the actual dairy industry. Is we noticed that we're not able to make as much, milk and dairy products back at home. So we did rely on Canada, and they actually they took away the tariffs in the dairy industry. So I can see the exact same way with doing stuff with like steel, wood. Like for example, Gary, Indiana used to be the steel powerhouse of the world. And you mentioned before that we don't have the current infrastructure. Oh my God, I can't even say the word infrastructure to be able to make stuff back at home. But what do you think that it would be a good plan to be able to implement that?
No, I agree with the supposed consequence of the plan, which is the reindustrialization of our country. I don't think the way to get there is through tariffs. I think the way to get there is through our federal government taking money and giving it to big steel producers to build that infrastructure, or just giving it to smaller companies that are on the down or up pipe of those producers to build out the infrastructure themselves. I think that we could actually control how much money is going where to build out what infrastructure in a very productive manner that's actually going to be more efficient than the free market. And I think that is the best idea because it doesn't create the same inefficiencies like inflation or a reduction in our own exports, isolation from global markets, etc. Hello? Okay, he left. All right, we're gonna move on to our next guest. Oh, come on, that was fun. He was a little bit more educated on this shit. Oh well, okay. I actually have a prediction, guys. I think that guest is going to be the most educated guest of the day. There will not be a single person we talk to on this live until we end that is more educated than that guy. I just want to put that one out there. TX, what's up? Did you vote for Trump?
Yes, I did.
And why the hell did he do that, quite frankly?
Why did I vote for Trump?
You heard me. That's what I asked you. The worst presidential candidate in modern American history.
Well, I don't agree with that at all. I think he's the only president in my lifetime that has kept any of the promises he's made to the American people.
Okay. What about the promise of the infrastructure bill or the wall between U.S. and Mexico where he's going to stick it to Mexico? Or like the promise that he won 2020? What about those ones?
He did win 2020.
He certainly didn't.
The point.
He certainly didn't. Give me one piece of evidence of widespread voter fraud sufficient to overturn the results of the election. Oh, wait, you can't because...
The Hunter Biden laptop.
Oh, the Hunter Biden laptop story was widespread
51
voter fraud?
intelligence officials said that it was Russian disinformation.
Mm-hmm.
It came out after the election. 30% of Biden voters said that if they had known that, they wouldn't have voted for Biden. That is widespread voter fraud caused by the interference of social media companies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so first of all, I actually find no wrongdoing on behalf of the Biden-Harris administration for Hunter Biden's laptop. There was no sufficient evidence to indicate that it was not Russian disinformation. There's claims that it was. Wish there's more investigation, though. Secondarily, any study that indicate that 30% of Biden voters want to vote for Biden if they knew about Hunter Biden's laptop are actually just lying to your fucking face. I've seen no evidence of that study being true. In fact, I've never even seen the study. And third of all, I don't give a shit. And you want to know why I don't give a shit? it because Donald Trump did the same exact thing in 2016. He slept with a P-star, cheated on his wife, then paid her off to be quiet about it. And that would have probably had an impact on the outcome of the election. And
that is not true. James Comey paid the fucking porn star, and it was not disclosed to Trump about it until after the fact.
Okay, so then why was Trump convicted on 34 felony counts of falsification of business documentation with the second step intent to sway the outcome of an election? You understand that his 34 felony convictions were literally for the falsification of the business documentation to pay Stormy Daniels, bro.
And it was a false.
Oh, go ahead. Call it lawfare. Call it lawfare. Do it.
It's fucking lawfare. It is. It's the Justice Department weaponized against Trump. It sure as hell is. They had to literally come up with a crime to convict him of a felony because the statute of limitations had ran out. And
they didn't have to come up with a crime at all? You're just not educated on your law.
No. The banks that came out and said that he falsified business records said that they would do business with him again, and they made money. And every single real estate agent in the world does that.
You're already contorting the cases against Trump. What you're talking about was a civil case for overestimating the value of his property to get a larger loan from the bank against his value.
Yes,
what I'm talking about is the criminal court that convicted of 34 counts of business frauds of falsification of business records with an intent to sway the outcome of the election. You are literally weaving two legal cases against Trump together right now, and that's another reason why you shouldn't support the dude. Because if you don't know the legal cases brought against him and you literally confuse them for one another, like maybe he's a pretty bad guy, right? Also, Chris, dude, thank you so much for the raid. I really appreciate that, man. Everybody, please show some love to Chris in that chat. In fact, Chris, if you want to co-host with me, you're always welcome, man. So, boom, you don't know what you're talking about. You're a conspiratorial, nonsensical man. Okay, I feel bad for you.
Because every single conspiracy theory has been proven true, so just wait, little guy.
Okay, I'll just give you the biggest conspiracy theory incessantly repeated by Trump that has actually been proven false. That would have been that there was widespread voter fraud in 2020 to overturn the results of the election. What happened to like the 2,000 mules? What happened to the ballot dumping? Well, what happened to the Democrats breaking in and
the
sending
state of Texas held criminal trials for
Dario with the future city.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Thank you so much for the future.
It's been happening all over the country. There has been people that have gone, not in Democratic states, but in Republican states. There are people that have been convicted of voter fraud.
Okay, so give me widespread evidence that there was sufficient voter fraud to overturn the results of 2020.
There are states throughout the nation that there are cases against.
Yeah,
every single Democrat state that it has been brought up in, it has been thrown out of court.
There's been 1,200 cases
not have been
of legitimate.
Convicted had he not been in fucking New York.
There's been 1,200
Biden
cases.
was convicted of the same thing. I would say the same thing. The whole fucking thing, the way the whole thing went down from the time he came off the escalator in 2016, they've been after his ass.
Okay, so first of all, you're like weaving two different conversations together. I asked you for evidence of widespread voter fraud.
Okay, 2,000 mules.
Shut up! Yo! Mama Peach with the TikTok universe. Oh my God, dude. You are actually joking. That is unreal. Oh my God. I want to see nothing but W Mother Peaches in that chat for the next 20 minutes. I hope you are having a phenomenal day, and I really, 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 really appreciate you for your love. What a good way to start the stream. Holy shit. I have a smile on my face. I'm all of a sudden so energetic and ready to go. I came online really tired and not that looking forward to the day, but now I'm fucking ready to take anybody and everybody on thanks to you, Mother Peach. Everybody show love right now to Mother fucking Peach. What's going on, Jacob? Did you vote for Trump? Thank you so much, and I mean that very seriously from the bottom of my heart. Once again,
how are you, bud?
kind, altruistic individual I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. Jacob, I am doing really good.
Yeah, buddy, you sound like you're doing great. Like it's phenomenal. I just I love the way that liberals think. It actually amuses the fuck out of me.
Okay.
Like it is so amusing. No, just listen for 2 seconds. It's so amusing that you have to use the word grape.
Well, that's not because I'm a liberal. That's because
like,
TikTok has
a
terms of service.
You're such a pussy. You're such a pussy and you don't even realize it.
Jacob, like my family dog has a higher IQ than you. The reason why you say grape is because the word
You're
rape
a little
gets
bitch.
you okay. Jacob, seriously, use your brain, bro. Jacob, use your fucking brain. I'm putting you on mute because you don't have self-control. Ooga fucking booga. We got an actual caveman on the live. You have less emotional regulation than a 6-year-old. I have no clue how you even function in society. Holy fucking shit.
You're such.
Oh my God, Jacob. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to incessantly press that mute button until you're done. I need you to calm down. I'm hoping that you'll just tire yourself out, right? Like, for instance, when I need my dog to calm down, I can't just be like, dog, calm now. No, like, they got to run around, they got to chase their little bone, and then they'll finally sit down. So that's what I'm doing with you right now. You're running around, you're, Bessie, bitch, all that shit. You're eventually going to get tired. We just got to wait it out, okay? Dario, thank you so much for the work hard. I really appreciate you for the love. Okay, Jacob got tired, but unfortunately, he didn't want to have a conversation and he just left. Everybody show some love to Dario in the chat. But if you're curious, right, I say grape because of TikTok's terms of service. What's going on? Did you vote for Trump?
Yeah, brother.
Okay, are you going to be like Jacob or are you going to have a brain?
Jacob has a brain.
Unreal. No, he doesn't. Have you seen it? I haven't seen it.
Are you trying to lose this debate? Because it's easy to argue that he has a brain.
If you haven't seen it, I don't know if you could believe it's there.
I'm just being as pedantic as you. That's all, Dean.
No, you're being obtuse and annoying. You were supposed to play into my joke and agree that Jacob didn't have a brain.
Do you mean acute?
No, obtuse.
What does obtuse mean?
It's a general colloquialism used, right?
Colloquialism?
In English, yes. In English,
what does that mean?
Countries to typically refer to like an individual that is being like generally annoying and highly pedantic, etc. However,
Pedantic,
I'm Dean Withers.
You got to use your words for your
Webster.
definition.
Why did you vote for Trump?
Honestly, I hate Trump, and I think he has a horrible moral character. But I did it because I don't like you, Dean.
Okay, you're chronically in line. What I'd recommend to you, now I mean this seriously.
I mean, you're chronically in line, to be honest. And it was great watching you lose. You lost everything. You're losing TikTok next week, by the way.
Okay, so first of all,
hey, actually, let's look at my
ask you for an opportunity to let me speak, dude. Is this going to be a one-way conversation?
No,
or
let's
a two-way
look at each other. I want to look at your eyes.
Oh my God, I mogged the fuck out of you. What happened?
A baby mogs me.
If you call me a baby, then yes, a baby mogs you. That makes it worse for you. You're actually more bruised. Now I'm going to go ahead and speak. Awesome. So first of all, you told me that you voted for Trump because you don't like me. I mean this very seriously, and I hope that you'll listen. Okay. Here's the issue. You're chronically online. You're in dire need of in-person relationships, and you really need to touch some grass. Donald Trump could be the best presidential candidate in the world. Kamala Harris could be the worst. If you voted for Donald Trump purely because of your disdain towards white boy liberal on the internet, you have to touch some grass. Text your mom, text your siblings if you have any, download Hinge, download Tinder, go on a date, and associate and acquaint yourself with the real world. There's no reason why some white boy on a social media platform that you've seen once or twice on your For You page should dictate how you vote in accordance with the civil and electoral processes of the United States of America in person in the ballot box on November 5th. Bad look. So do you have a response?
Hey, chronically online. Hey.
Go ahead.
That's great. Hey, at least. Hey. You use the skinny version. So, but okay, you got a point there. Okay, listen to me. I'm not chronically online. You're the one whose entire
Lilith. Thank you for the dragon.
Wait. Your entire life and your entire job revolves around being online. If you were not online, your existence would be meaningless according to your own principles and morals. You don't even believe in God. Your only value comes from being online on a dystopian Chinese app owned by ByteDance. And you're really just a part of a cog in the machine of astroturfing. I mean,
okay.
I'm the one who's chronically online.
Yeah,
You're
we
an
both
astroturf
are. But the
plant.
only thing is I use my
You were
chronically onlineness
astroturfed.
for good. You use your chronically onlineness for bad.
You literally beg for donations.
Eli, thank you so much for the featured counter. I don't beg for donations.
You're astroturfed. You wouldn't be anything if you weren't for the backing of the bigger machine. You're just a pawn.
Okay, all these words are meaningless. Don't care.
Oh, sure they are.
Tell me why Trump's a better
going to help you
presidency
defeat
than
your little
Kamala
argument
Harris.
here. I'm not here for the argument. I'm here to tell you the truth. The truth is you're meaningless because you have no values. You have no values that last for a long period of
I
time.
just have a
Your
question.
values change by
So
the
in
day.
I'm
You
meaningless.
illegal immigration, and now you don't.
I'm meaningless. Got it. So I just have a question. In the last 3 months, I've gone close to 500 million views. Went to the White House, meet the president, and got
AstroTurf.
posted in the GQ as well as New York Times. What about you?
AstroTurf. You're part of Kamala's campaign to try to get the Gen Z vote, and you failed.
Katie, thank you so much for the $10 on Venmo. I do really appreciate you for the love. Thank you so much, Katie. So first of all, like the claim that we actually cause more individuals. To
What would you be without TikTok? Can you exist on any other platform?
Yeah, sure, I got you. So prior to TikTok, I won 2 international awards for front-end web development, as well as I ran my own creative company where we built out online revenue portfolios for already up for pre-existing e-commerce and brick-and-mortar stores. I was actually able to scale a dog food. I was actually able to scale a dog food company up to about $2 million a year in revenue.
That's a nice high school project, dude.
It wasn't a high school project, sir.
Okay, what were you in? Freshman year of college?
Yeah, so I started doing this at around 16, stopped when I was 19.
Nice, dude. You're an undergrad. Congratulations.
Christine, thank you for the $25 on Venmo. I really appreciate you for the love, Christine. This guy says, does this guy need a safe space? I think it does. Shut up! Christine, thank you so much for the $25. I really appreciate you for the love. Shut up.
Someone's getting it.
Oh my God! Mama Peach!
Point that you're clearly ignorant. He's like, let me finish my point. I think the point was made. You're very ignorant. If you were in elementary school, which is when they learn when the president's president, until you would have just failed the test.
He went to Saudi Arabia.
5th graders passed that. Oh my God. How are you allowed to vote? Oh my God. Okay. Just tell me again. Hey, everybody from the Dean, right? Good to see y'all. Tell me, how is Donald Trump going to cut costs? Answer the question.
He will go to Saudi Arabia again and to Russia.
Yeah, what? Give $2 billion more to his son-in-law, Jared? What do you mean? He's going to go to the Saudis again and steal money. And that's going to cut costs on groceries. How exactly?
You are a liar. You are misinformation.
You are a liar. You said, let me get this right. No, let me get this right. Let me get this right. Shh. Quiet. So you're saying that you're, 1, an immigrant who voted for Donald Trump, roaches for raid. 2, you're saying that you voted for Donald Trump and yet you thought that the Democrats, no, quiet, peasant. You said that the Democrats were a branch of government. You said that the Constitution was a branch of government. You said that we have 51 United States senators. Seriously? And you're up here telling me I'm wrong. Like, are you good? This guest is absolutely sundowning right now. More than reasonable for them to be deported. They've really voted for their own deportation, and I think it's our duty as American patriots to ensure that he is in fact deported. It's time to deport the Trumpers because they don't know how many branches of government there are. They think we have 51 senators. Wow, that's actually insane. And this guy thought he was safe from deportation. It's time to just get on with it. Deport the Trumpers out of here. Oh my God. See, and Trump supporters will say I'm mean, but I'm just Italian. I just throw it back in their face. That's the fact.
On TikTok, so it means the absolute world to me. You could attach your name, you could attach a message, I could give you a shout out, but I want to see W's from Mama Peach in the chat for at least the next 20 minutes. Nothing but. What's up, Ty? Did you vote for Trump? Okay, they're left. We got our next guest loading up in. Spam MAGA in that chat if you do want to come up and debate, guys. We are going to go ahead and get on to our first debate of the night right now. What's going on? Did you vote for Trump? KO, did he vote for Trump?
No.
He's not here. Tyler, did he vote for Trump?
Yeah.
All right, why's that?
All right, so first of all, I don't know if you saw his last presidency.
Tyler, how old are
you? 18.
What year were you born in?
06.
06. Okay, all right. So go ahead. Give me a reason why you voted for Trump. Let's see what you got. Also, Luna, how old are you? Luna, you have like 10 seconds before I kick you. Okay, just go ahead, Tyler.
All right, so hold up. First presidency, he did really well, especially with the border, because that's a really big concern right now. I don't know if you've realized that.
Okay. Yeah, what was one of the effective border policies that he passed during his first administration?
Well, he kept...
Dean likes saying the N-word. Dean likes saying the N-word.
I don't like saying the N-word.
Saying the N-word. Dean, I'm 20. Dean likes saying the N-word.
Did you vote for Trump?
Dean likes saying the N-word.
Are you here for a debate or just to like repeat that sentence?
Dean likes saying the N-word.
Okay, just to repeat that sentence. Go ahead, Tyler.
All right, so the border right now is a really big issue. And can you repeat what you said? I forgot what the question was.
Yeah, can you name one piece of legislation that he passed during his first 4 years that was effective for the southern border?
I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, he kept Obama's border laws. Is that true?
Well, I mean, he built on top of them. He passed a few new ones. So you said he was effective for the border in the first 4 years, but yet you can't name one effective policy passed for the border during his first 4 years. It seems like a bit of a contradiction.
Well, I feel like another issue is because I'm a new voter. So,
Tyler, I honestly think that the chat's going to be the best place for you to be. No hard feelings, right? I just think that it's important, right? If you're going to be in the space, maybe just like watch and learn for a little bit. I do appreciate you for coming up. In fact, we all appreciate you so much. I also appreciate you just for being kind. But honestly, I think just kind of watching the live is going to be a better place for you to be. What's up?
Yeah,
Did
man.
you vote for Trump?
What's up, man? How was your day? I just want to start with that.
Dude, it's been really good. And you have Mama Peach to thank for that. Keep the W's coming in the chat, by the way. But did you vote for Trump?
Yeah, I voted for Trump.
All right, why's that?
All right, hear me out. If you don't have meat, the country.
Okay, repeat that. You lagged out halfway through.
If you don't have meat, how can you run a country?
If you don't have meat?
Yeah. Like,
okay.
The bigger the stick, the bigger the, leading.
Okay, so do you think that men are better at leading than women?
No, I'm talking about, like, stick. Women can have sticks.
By stick, what do you mean?
Sticks.
Do you mean penis? Okay, they left. Well, fucking weird. Okay. All right, we're going to move on to the next guest, y'all. Everybody just do give us a minute, y'all. We got Debbie loading up in. If you're on that queue, make sure that you're MAGA. Yo! Oh, my God. Mama Peach with a $300 on Venmo. Mama Peach says, F TikTok for taking as much as they do. Let's double it up with 100 per uni. Love ya. Dude, I love you too, Mama Peach. Jeez, man. Oh my gosh, dude. You are so incredibly kind. You heard me speak a little bit about this last night. I don't know how to say thank you with my words. I don't think that my words will ever truly be enough. I want everybody in the chat to show some incredibly special love to Mama Peach, the all-time GOAT, the all-time MVP, uncontested, like, insanity. Thank you so much for the love. It literally means the world, and I really, really, really appreciate it. I mean, I hope you know that. I genuinely, sincerely appreciate it and appreciate you. In fact, we all do. Thank you, Mama Peach. And what's up, Paige? Did you vote for Trump?
Yes.
How old are you?
14.
14.
18.
Okay. All right, moving on to our next guest, everybody. Do just give us a minute. We got Ava loading up. Spam MAGA in the chat if you do want to come up and debate, y'all. So good for our next guest. What's going on? Did you vote for Trump?
Yes, I did.
How old are you?
I am 18, September 2006.
Awesome. Why did you vote for Trump?
So before we get to that, I just want to go back to a few things you said in the live past, in the past live, sorry. So do you know what the filibuster is?
Yeah, it's basically a way to like postpone or block the passing of a bill unless you have 60 people in the Senate that overrule the filibuster. But why did you vote for Trump?
Okay, well, I don't really know what it is, and I don't really care because all I'm thinking about is you feeling and busting inside of me.
Spam MAGA in the chat if you want to come up and debate. We're just gonna move on. Salem, what's up? Did you vote for Trump?
No, I did not.
Get out of here, Salem. We just want debates. Did you vote for Trump?
What's up, dude? Vote for Trump.
All right. Why the hell did you vote for the worst presidential candidate?
Hey, he's not the worst presidential. You voted for a woman, dude.
Oh, do you think that?
Okay. Listen, men built the world. Try and dispute that.
No. So do you think men are better at leading than women?
Excuse me. Men are the ones who fought in the Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
Men are the ones who nuked the Japanese.
Committed genocide.
Well, what else? What else were we gonna do? They bombed Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, shut up. So do you think men are better at leading than women?
Absolutely. Men are superior to women in every single aspect.
I'm trying to ask you a question. So if men are better at leading than women, in fact superior. Just wait. If men are better at leading than women, and they're in fact superior to women, this must mean that there's some biological differences between men and women.
Absolutely. Intellectually, morally,
differences between men and women.
In terms of virtue and character, men are superior to women. Women are only into like abstract concepts like beauty. They're like dependent on other people. They're not intellectual. They shouldn't go onto like intellectual journeys.
Okay, so about intellectualism, women actually have a higher IQ on average compared to men, so they're literally more intellectual on average. Plus,
no. What source? Can I have your source?
We would see a very strong correlation between intellectualism and performance in academia. Women get more degrees compared to men, while they also perform better in school. Dario, thank you for the future journey. Oh my God, Dario. Everybody show some love to Dario in the comment section. And continue to show some love.
Giving you money?
Shut up. And continue to show some love to Mama Peach as well. Thank you so much, Dario. By the way, what did he call you guys? If he said like a slur or something, I'll kick him. I honestly wasn't listening.
Called you a punk. Punk.
I don't know. A punk, okay. Thank you so much, Dario. I really appreciate you for the love. As well as Hannah with a $50 on Venmo saying El Misogynist. Thank you so much for the love, Hannah. I really appreciate you for that love. Everybody, please show some love to Hannah down below in that comment section. So, D, listen. Let's get at least 500 W's for Hannah and 500 W's for Dario and like 5 billion W's for Mama Peach. But regardless, listen. So here's the thing. I actually think that we can't draw a generalization on the basis of gender for who's better at leading, men or women. But if we had to, like gun to the head, I'd say women are generally better at leading than men. Okay, he left. He didn't want to hear the arg. Unfortunate. We're going to move on to the next guest, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody, just give us a minute to get that next guest up in the box. If you're MAGA, let me know in that chat. I'll go ahead and pull you up here. There's not a whole lot of people in that queue that are MAGA right now. So if you do drop a MAGA in the chat and you genuinely do want to come up and debate, let me know and I'll get you up here. What's up, Dayton? Did you vote for Trump?
I did, but that's not. I just came up here to ask you. You call me dumb if you will or whatever, but what is a policy that would benefit the middle class more than the upper class?
From Kamala Harris?
From any policy.
Oh, sure. Like just tax cuts for individuals in the low and the middle class and only for them. That's like something that would benefit them more than the upper class.
But if they're tax cut in the middle class, would they not also tax cut the upper class?
Yeah, they certainly like can, like when it comes to like personal income tax, because obviously we have a tiered tax system that will also benefit people in high class, but the claim is it'll benefit those in the low and middle class proportionately more. But is there anything else you want to go over, Dayton?
No, that's about it. Is there any other policy other than taxes?
Well, I mean, like, sure, there's plenty. Like a subsidy for first-time home buyer, tax write-offs, deductions, standard. Like, there's a lot to do with taxes.
I'm just getting confused because I feel like anything that's going to benefit the middle class is also going to benefit the upper class.
Well, it's proportionally more. So, like, imagine this. So, imagine, like, we doubled the standard deduction. All of a sudden, you could write off an additional $14,000 in tax-free income. That's obviously going to benefit someone that makes $100,000 a year more than someone that makes $1 million, proportionally speaking.
Okay.
Dario! Oh my god! Oh my dude! Dude! Dario with the TikTok stars! Man! I want to see everybody in here spamming W Dario in that chat. Also, once again, even more W Mother Peaches, okay? Oh my god! Dario! Thank you so much for the love. Dude, that is unreal. Dario, I DM'd you about this. I was saying something about this on the TikTok live the other day. I really appreciate you so much for all the support you've been showing recently. It is unreal. I'm so incredibly grateful for you. As I was saying to Mama Peach earlier, the same thing obviously also applies to you. A genuinely kind person, and I really appreciate you for the love. This is unreal. The support, Dario, that you've been showing recently, the support that you've all been showing recently, Mama Peach. I never would have expected it in a million years, and I'm genuinely forever grateful for it. And of course, the point of the live is to have political discussions with people that disagree, and I don't want to detract from that for too long because I know that there's thousands of people waiting to watch just that. So thank you so much, Dario. It just means the world. And I want the chat to continue to show thanks to Dario and Mama Peach while I'm debating Hunter over here. Nothing but W Darios and W Mama Peaches. All right, at least for the next 20 minutes. Thank you guys so much. Unreal. Thank you. Hunter, what's up? How are you?
Not half bad. Why is Trump bad for America?
Sure. Where do you want me to start? He's a 34-count felon educated rapist that wanted to religiously persecute and ban all new Muslims from entering.
Why is it bad that he's a felon?
Yeah, because it just shows social permissibility of breaking the law and being rewarded with the highest ranking position of power known to mankind. If McDonald's shouldn't hire a felon, maybe we shouldn't put a felon into the Oval Office. Also, it is the right that is always making the argument that it's bad to be a felon as relating to undocumented migrants. So it's funny that you see it there but not here. Additionally, I think
when did he get the felon? When did he get it?
He was in September of 2024. Sorry, he was convicted September of 2024.
What for?
34 counts of falsification of business records with an intent to commit a second crime. You know, you could go on Google for all this.
No, I was just wondering. I'm not up to date on all this.
No worries. So why did you vote for Trump?
Oh, I haven't yet, but I will.
Ah. I'm very grateful for people like you. Just not the brightest at all, to the point of missing the election. What's up? Do you vote for Trump?
No, I did not. But I do have a question. Do you think that he will actually deport, all these illegal migrants and overturn?
No, it's literally physically impossible. Mass deportation is impossible. What's up, Joshua? You vote for Trump?
Best. Dean, I just have one message for you.
I'm guessing you didn't vote for Trump. If you want to message me, feel free to reach out. IG DMs, Discord DMs, And by the way, keep the W's coming for Dario Mama Peach in that chat. Okay. All right. While we're getting our next guest up here, continue to show love to the goats. Okay. All right, you guys, to the motherfucking goats, dude. Now we're going to go ahead and get our next guest up in here. You guys, if you voted for Trump, spam MAGA in that chat. All right. Show some love to the goats. All right. What's up? Did you vote for Trump? I have a feeling you're a troll.
I love you.
Cringe. Moving on to our next guest. Here we go. Caleb, I want you up on the live right now. Jack.
Hey, how you doing?
You know, I'm actually having a really good day. Did you vote for Trump?
Yes, I did.
And why did you decide to do that?
Well, he was in office for 4 years.
He was.
I'm a younger voter, and I saw my parents do great in his economy. I saw us be able to afford a really nice new house. I saw us be able to afford groceries, and
things
and
cost
we got
less.
Biden in office, and I can barely afford to live. My parents.
Yeah. All right, let's start with the easy questions. How did Biden cause inflation?
Sending millions and millions of dollars to foreign affairs that don't include us.
Wrong. Bad. 1/32 of our military budget went to Ukraine. It wasn't millions, it was billions. And if government overspending causes inflation, Trump would have caused twice as much of inflation as Biden and Harris due to the fact that he spent twice as much as Biden and Harris.
All right. That makes sense.
So, how do you do it?
What was that? I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
No worries, man. I'll speak up. Maybe it's a me issue. So how did he cause the inflation?
I'm unsure. I have a question
Exactly.
for that. Like, that's why I'm asking you.
Because COVID caused the inflation. So COVID, right, was something that happened in every country around the world. I'll just keep this story short. At the end of the day, it caused inflation, not just here at home in the U.S., but in every country on the face of the planet. Nub. Thank you for the star map. However, we did have the strongest and quickest rebound from the inflation onset by COVID, proportionally speaking, compared to any other country in the G7.
So why do you think that he'll destroy? And I want to say real quick, I thank you for acknowledging that mass deportation could never happen because it's so absurd and insanely unrealistic.
But that doesn't. I don't know why you're thanking me for that. That just further reflects negatively on.
Well, you've acknowledged it, and I've been in a lot of conversations with people.
What it shows about Trump is that it all that it shows about Trump is that he doesn't actually care about policy or getting shit done. He literally just used rhetoric to scare prejudiced white people into thinking that like people from other countries in this country are like really bad, evil, and like need to get thrown out. And then they radicalize that into fear, which keeps their burning loyalty for Donald Trump stronger because they feel like he's the only person that could do anything about it.
Because he shut down borders, and the southern border was shipping in Chinese immigrants, Venezuelan immigrants, and Colombian immigrants.
Oh, yeah, thank you so much for the private jet. Thank you so much.
Okay, so name one effective border policy introduced under his first 4 years.
Closing the border.
Closing the border. That's like a.
What policy was that, bro?
Yeah, it's a statement.
Close the Border Act.
No,
Close
I don't
the Border
know
Act of Trump.
No, I don't. I'm sorry. I don't argue for a living. So no, I don't know the exact policy. But
I argue for a living. I love my job.
Okay, I'm sure you do. It sounds great, but
yeah. So do you want you still don't have an argument then? So if you agree that we have better arguments, why don't you accept the better arguments?
Because you haven't made an argument. The argument was that the border was closed and we didn't have thousands and thousands of immigrants coming in.
Jack, how old are you?
Supposed to be in our country.
So there are more
19.
people There are more people coming to the country right now, or well, not actually right now. There are less people coming right now under the Biden-Harris administration overall because of economic insecurity that exists around the world because of global inflation, something caused by the pandemic that had nothing to do with Biden, had nothing to do with Harris. And also, why is the chat saying that you follow minors?
Do you follow kids, bro?
No, I'm like 16. Let me keep it a buck.
Okay. All right. Well.
Jack, Cody, and Donald. I kind of wanted to get the uneducated teenage boy squad up here. How old are you guys?
What? How'd you wait? So wait, are you gonna kick me out?
Turning 16 in a couple months.
Wait, who's 15? Which one of you said that?
That was not me.
No, don't say me. Say your name. Say your name.
Donald.
Okay, Jack, how old are you?
Wait, are you gonna kick me out if I'm not 18? Because you just.
Well, now we know you're not 18. Thank you.
All right, since I'm 18, I want to talk.
What's your birth year? What's your birth year?
You're not off the line yet, buddy.
2006.
Oh, okay. You know what? What's your birthday?
All right, dude. What do you need that information for? It's the 24th of July.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. Nice. Good for you, man. So here's my question: why'd you vote Trump?
Actually, it was my first year voting in. So I just think his ideas are so much better.
What his concepts of a plan are so much better.
You guys gotta let me talk though. If I'm gonna be honest,
we'll let you. Yeah. Hey, Parker, I need you to calm down. You're way too emotional. Okay. Calm down.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
I'm just kidding. That's what they all say, though. They expect you to be a robot. But Cody, go ahead, man.
All right. So the whole thing, gun control. You know what I'm talking about? How all this stuff is happening with guns and whatever the fuck. It's stupid. It's not right, but you have to understand that you can't take our right away to own a gun when it's the person behind the gun that's pulling the trigger. It's not the gun that's doing the job.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you a simple question, buddy. We're going to skip to the jump here. First of all, the whole convo about gun control as it relates to the last two administrations get messy because Trump was the only one out of the two presidencies that passed gun reform, and he did it twice. Actually, the most monumental gun reform in modern U.S. history. Second of all, got a question. Would you be okay with banning guns if it meant that it would save the lives of more innocent kids?
No, I'm not okay because that's my right to protect myself.
Got it. Now, question, are you pro-life?
Not every gun. Yeah, I'm pro-life.
Let me get this one straight, Cody. Let me get this one straight. Let me cook. Let me cook. Let him cook.
Let him cook.
You cannot bring guns into this when we're talking about guns, dude. That has nothing to do with guns.
It does.
Nothing to do with guns.
I can tell you how it does.
If you think killing a fetus is right, you're fucked in the head.
Cody, wait, let me just explain to you the relation. But listen, here's how it relates. Here's how it relates. Because you don't think that you should lose your right as a man to own a gun, even if it saved the lives of more innocent kids. But then you look at all 170 million American women and girls, including victims of rape, and you're like, they should lose their right to access health care because it saves the lives of more innocent kids. Don't you think that's a little bit hypocritical there, Cody?
Okay, I see where you're coming from, but guns and fucking abortion have nothing to do with each other.
I told you the relation. It's the fact that you think you should have a right in this absolute sense, even if taking that right away would save the lives of more innocent kids. But then you hold the contrary energy towards women and abortion, saying that they should lose that right as it saves the life of more innocent kids.
Wait, say that again? Sorry, these fucking comments. I keep seeing the comments. Say that again.
Wow.
I'll read. Okay. Simplistically speaking, here it is. You have a right to own a gun. You want to never lose that right, no matter what it is. You treat that as an absolute right. Even if taking that right away saved the lives of more innocent kids, you still want that right. Fuck them kids. But then when it comes to women and their right to access abortion, you say it should be taken away because it saves the lives of more innocent kids. But when it comes to your right to own a gun, it shouldn't be taken away, even if it saves the lives of more innocent kids. Do you see the hypocrisy now?
But get where I'm coming from for guns. I'm not only using them for my protection, but I use them to provide for my family, put food on the table. I have killed many animals. What, are you going to say that that's wrong too? Killing animals?
What kind of gun do you use to kill an animal?
Hunting rifle.
Yeah, long rifle, right?
It's not a long rifle. It's a bolt action.
Yeah, do you need an AR-15?
I've used AR-15s for coyotes.
Do you need it, though?
It sure is good to have one when you're coyote hunting.
Do you feed coyote to your family?
No one eats coyotes, but they're predators that kill the land that you're
coyotes.
And I'm just letting you know. I think you can take out some coyotes without a fucking AR-15. I think it's possible.
Dude, you could probably do that with a pellet gun.
But you could also use these AR.
Dude, bro thinks he needs an AR-15.
Yeah. So basically, what you're telling us is that you don't want to lose. Cody, shut up. Basically, Cody, no, I grew up with guns. Many guns. My dad is incredibly pro 2A. In fact, for Christmas this year, he rebuilt himself the same style weapon that was used to armor wipe Osama bin Laden. It took him like a year because he had to get a permit for the silencer. It's decked out as a
Cody,
laser
we're
on
giving
it.
you
It's
something
crazy.
where it's not necessary for self-defense. Okay, if it's not necessary for self-defense, right, or for daily life, in order for you to be able to get access to that particular type of gun, well, then it's not going to meet the criteria that we have in which we think it's justified for people to have guns.
But like, that's not even what the argument is about. Like, the argument's not even about why like guns are good or bad. It's a relation between the right to own a gun and the woman's right to get an abortion. And that's what's important. Because you'll sit here and defend your right to own a gun, even if taking it away saves the lives of more innocent children, because you want to kill coyotes. But then you'll say that a woman should lose her right to an abortion as you think it will save the lives of more innocent children, regardless of a woman's reason that she doesn't want an unwanted obligation until the day she dies, both in the sense of financial, physical, and parental. She doesn't want to deal with the unwarranted and unwanted stresses, pains, and traumas associated with pregnancy and childbirth, right? And you look at that and you say that, well, that's all garbage, but then you'll sit here and defend your right to own a gun as an absolute right, even if it saves the life of more innocent.
I don't need an AR to kill a coyote. Coyotes are irrelevant. I don't provide coyotes for a family. And I don't want to talk about the abortion. You guys keep bringing that up. Obviously, I think that it's wrong. I'm pro-life. And it's wrong to me. We're not talking about that. I'm talking about providing for a family. A long rifle can do the same to a kid as an AR-15. It doesn't matter. It's the person pulling the trigger. It's not.
No. The reason why I'm saying it's not just the person pulling the trigger is that you think that miniguns should be illegal. So there are certain types of guns you think should be illegal, even though you identify that it's a person behind the minigun.
Also, I just want to identify that you haven't responded to the position. You have just said you think abortion's wrong.
Abortion is wrong. It's very wrong.
Okay, but Cody, we'll get into that in a second. But like, you understand, there's a person behind the minigun. Do you agree?
There's a person behind every gun.
Exactly. So why should you ban miniguns but not handguns?
Ren, thank you for the $2.
Okay, handguns. What are you gonna do when your wife is?
Because it's necessary for self-defense. Is that what you're going to argue? Because a minigun's not necessary for self-defense. Neither is an AR-15.
Okay, but it's my right. It's an amendment. There is no right for anyone to have their
any gun control.
My right. So I could do the same thing for the minigun.
And any gun control that would be passed would be in accordance with 2A, and it'd actually be vetted and signed off on by the conservative Supreme Court. Just saying.
The right to bear arms does not indicate every arm. You don't think people should legally be able to get nukes. You don't think they should legally be able to get miniguns, right? That would be insane. Okay, so the right to bear arms, what I think that is just referring to is just the fact that, right, guns, right, are necessary for self-defense, right? And if that is true, right, well, then you don't need every type of gun. You just need some guns. So I don't disagree necessarily with access to guns for self-defense. I disagree with ones in which don't meet, like, the necessity and have this very high level of excessive harm it can apply to other people in a short period of time. So that's like the type of standard that I would apply. And if that standard applies to things like miniguns and it applies to things like fully automatic weapons, I don't see why I wouldn't apply that in the context of an AR-15, given what we've seen through the context of school shootings.
Why the fuck is everyone saying I'm 16, dude? You want me to pull up my fucking birth certificate?
Just ignore him.
Well, that's what Donald Trump wanted Barack Obama to do, but you guys still voted for him.
Yeah, pretty cooked, actually. You just got cooked. Yeah, like, dude, Cody, wow.
I did not get cooked. There is, like, AR.
Denying reality is okay. That's normal for you.
Can you shoot a deer with an AR-15?
Dude, you're telling me you cannot take out a deer with any other thing.
Yeah, but you can.
And that's also not taking out a deer is not necessary for self-defense. Let's be totally honest.
Okay. How many school shooters have brought shotguns to shoot up a school?
I'm not saying that it hasn't happened, but you understand that the ability to apply excessive force is going to be distinct specifically with an AR-15 comparative to a shotgun.
Also, like, why would you prefer to hunt with an AR-15 over, say, like a long rifle? Because, like, typically, what the only difference I could see is with, like, a bolt action or, like, a long rifle, there's, like, a longer waiting period in between your shots, meaning that the only reason you may prefer the AR-15 is because of, like, a spray and pray. Just sit there, pull the trigger, spray and pray, hope that you hit the animal. But, I mean, any good hunter knows that, like accurate shot placement is like incredibly crucial in hunting, and like the whole like spray and pray.
Of course. But have you?
And Cody, like, let me give you an example. Like, you wouldn't ban a bow and arrow because it doesn't have that ability to cause that excessive level of harm in that short period of time. No one's fucking Oliver Queen. No one's the Green Arrow. No one has the ability to walk into a room and unalive 15 people in under like fucking 5 seconds, right? With a bow and arrow. Okay. So you see how there's like a difference in the excessive level of harm that it can particularly cause, right? And that's why we would be like, okay, I'm okay with banning it.
Okay, but let me talk. If you guys don't know where I'm from, but you can buy tags over the counter. You get into a herd of animals, spray and pray, so you say. But whatever.
Herd of what animals?
A herd of elk. That's what I hunt.
Okay, yeah, so then why don't you think it should be illegal to have a minigun? I want to use a minigun to take out the elk.
I have like such an important question. Who the hell taught you to hunt?
Dude, I've been hunting since I was. I don't think you guys.
Who the hell taught you to go find a herd of elk and spray and pray?
I never once said that when you can buy tags over the counter.
Cody, I'm asking you, who the hell taught you to do that?
Yeah, like actually Trump. Like, dude, Jesus Christ,
dude, like I could get like, listen, there's probably like we have 7.5 thousand people. There's probably at least like 75, like 50 to 65-year-old white guys that live in the American South and probably agree with you on everything politically speaking that would come up here and flame your ass for that shit. Like where my like lifted F-150 like big burly white guys that love Trump that like think that this guy's absolutely idiotic for like sitting here saying find a herd of elk and spray and pray with a semi-automatic AR-15.
No one is letting me fucking talk. You gotta let me talk.
Let him cock.
Like when you fucking get into a herd of elk. You
just fucking spray.
That is not what I'm saying. You gotta let me talk instead of fucking over talking.
Okay, I'm sorry. We'll let you cook.
Yeah.
When you get into a herd of elk, which you guys probably have not, you probably never shot an elk in your life.
Dude, I got my hunter safety license at 12. You know nothing about
I've never done that in my life. I've never done that in my life.
All right, let me talk. Let me talk, dude. You guys.
I think we should stop letting him talk.
Where I live, you get deprivation tags because the elk population is increasing rapidly. So they are trying to get rid of elk. So when you go and get into a herd of elk and you have good shot placement, it's not spray and pray or whatever the hell you guys call it. I've never done that in my life. You put elk on the ground, you fill your tags. That's how it goes. It's
not with an AR-15.
But AR-15 sure is a lot faster.
Faster at like shooting and spraying and praying, hoping that you land a shot. For good shot placement, right? You're not going to line up there with a semi-automatic.
How fast the shot is with your finger. Pistols are semi-automatic. You can shoot an elk with a pistol.
Yeah. Does a pistol have like a 30-round mag?
You can sure as shit bottom.
That would be illegal. We would make that illegal though.
You could.
But what's the difference between a 12-round mag compared to a 30?
You understand there's also differences in level of stability, right? Particularly within the recoil in the gun. Right? That allows for you to like unalive more people in a shorter period of time.
AR-15 doesn't kick as much because it's a smaller bullet for one. And compared to holding a handgun like a 45, say, that kicks a lot more.
Are you just passionate about maintaining the elk population?
Huh?
Are you passionate about the animal ecosystem, keeping that elk population low when it starts growing a little bit rampant, and you just want to make sure that Kamala Harris doesn't infringe upon that?
No, this is all about guns. This isn't about the elk population. I know I mentioned that, but this is all about the right to own a gun, no matter.
Would you be okay with gun reform that's constitutional?
Huh?
Would you be okay with constitutional gun reform?
What do you mean?
Jesus
If it doesn't
Christ,
violate
dude.
2A, are you okay with it?
Wait, both of you are talking. Say that again.
If it doesn't violate 2A, are you okay with it?
I mean, if it's taking any sort of weapon away from me that I cannot own with my own.
Okay, I have a question. I have a question here. So, if an elk was conscious and sentient just like you, and it didn't consent to being shot, and it said no, would you treat that as like a yes with extra steps?
What's that?
Do you think that like a no is just like a yes with extra steps?
All right, I just seen that comment too, dog. You don't gotta look at it.
So do you think that like a no is just a yes with extra steps? What are the extra steps?
A no is that repost is not about fucking people like living whatever guns whatever.
I know it's about it's about grape culture and women not consenting towards sexual advances. So, you're in a room with a woman, you make a sexual advance, she says no. What do you do then?
You obviously don't do anything.
Well, that's not what your repo says. Actually, your repo say that she means yes.
A repost has nothing to do with grape, whatever the fuck you call it.
Oh, then what does that have to do
That's
with?
so gross.
What does it have to do with it?
It was right. No one once said that it was right.
So I actually asked you what your.
I mean, you did vote for Trump. You voted for a guy held civilly liable of sexually abusing a woman.
But what does your repost have to do with? That's what I want to know.
What does my repost have to do? I don't fucking remember. That was like 2 years ago, dude.
Okay, that sounds like a little bit of like a cop out.
Okay, show me the repost then. You got your phone pulled up?
On my laptop.
Let me see it.
My laptop screen doesn't show; it just goes black. See that? I guess I could kind of get it.
I can kind of see it.
Sure, I could try to find it here.
Or you could just turn off background. That works.
No is just a yes with extra step. I don't. I mean, that has nothing to do with rape.
So then, what does it have to do with?
No is just a yes with extra steps.
Yeah.
That ain't even me. That's that ain't even my like. That's a different quote from a buddy of mine, dude.
Yeah, but what does it mean?
All my friends.
A buddy of yours?
But like, what does it mean?
No is just a yes with extra steps.
Yeah. What does it mean?
Honestly, I don't know.
Yikes.
Okay. Well, obviously that's a lie.
I'm friends with a thread. Okay. Whatever. I mean, you guys just have like you don't understand. You obviously will not.
You actually.
What do we not
repost
understand?
Here. So you made another repost here, and the repost says women know everything in the world until it's about the guy you asked about in their phone. Cody knows everything in the world until it's about what he reposted about how no means yes with extra steps.
Oh my god, dude! You gotta pull that shit out of your ass too.
I mean,
dude, this guy's like weird.
Like weird. What do you guys do for a living? Seriously, is this all you guys?
This is what we do. This is what we do. Are you jealous?
Wait, what does what keeps the world going every day?
Are you jealous?
Oh, that's another conversation we could get into. I'm not fucking jealous. This would suck ass to have to argue back and forth to other people every single day just to make a little bit of money. That's all you guys do?
Well, so we love it.
What keeps
I love what I do.
What keeps your lights turned on every day? Let me hear.
What keeps my lights turned on? Well, you understand that
people in my chat that love me.
What charges your phone to fucking power these stupid ass
people in my chat that love me.
Are you talking about like the literal like energy infrastructure in America?
Energy, yes, I am.
Yeah, but we pay for it through the money that people give us on TikTok.
Through the exchange of commodity. Okay, so what's the relevance of bringing up like energy infrastructure in America? Are you like, what's the point in mentioning like America's energy infrastructure and how does that relate to what we do?
You're making no sense. Like, what?
Gerard, thank you so much for the $50 on Venmo. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the inclusive W's for them in the comment section right now. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Dude, this guy actually like doesn't understand anything that I'm saying. You know, that is yo, Gerard. Thank you for the $50 saying here's a little bit of money to pay for the light bill. I appreciate you for the love, Gerard. I want to see at least 1,000 W's for Gerard in that comment
And
section.
Lucilla, thank you so much. I appreciate the $5. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it for loving you. I love watching your debates. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Dude, honestly,
Cody,
like,
you mad, bro?
I feel like I experienced this a lot where individuals just.
I'm asking you a question. You guys.
Aaron, thank you for the $20. Thank you so much for Cody's definitely jealous. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Aaron. Thank you.
Okay, ask your question, Cody.
I'm not jealous, dude.
You sound jealous, bro.
Ask your question. Ask your question, Cody.
What powers your house? What powers it?
A local energy company. I think they're Excel Energy.
Where do people get their energy from? Where do these
people get their energy from? I think I don't know. I don't know the methods where Excel gets their energy from. Why?
Do you know what coal plants are? Coal mines.
That's one source of energy. Yeah.
That is the main source of energy in the U.S.
I want to doubt it. Okay, where are we going?
Okay, do you see how the liberals...
Melanie, thank you for the $5 to keep the lights on, and Casey, thank you for the $1.
And Gabby, thank you for the $5, and Desiree, thank you so much for the $5. Thank you, Gabby and Desiree. So go ahead.
Do you see how all these liberals are trying to take away the natural resource of coal?
Okay, so I'm actually going to tell you what liberals in our government are doing right now, and I want you to listen very closely. So, no, liberals are not trying to take away your coal. Liberals are not trying to take away your oil. Actually, what liberals are trying to do right now is to produce more of those very shitty energy
but
resources.
if they're producing more, why
Cody,
are we
I wish that you'd let me
finish
finish.
From different countries?
I really wish you'd let me finish, Cody. Obviously,
you can't expect that with someone like Cody Dean.
Yeah, obviously I'm more educated than you are, Cody. Obviously I've done the research and you haven't. I don't say that to shit on you. It just gets really annoying.
You've done more research because this is your fucking job, right?
Exactly.
Back and forth.
So do you mind if I?
Is it bad that we have better arguments than you? Are you gonna call us like a nerd next?
All you do is debate on TikTok.
Melanie, thank you so much for the $5.
It doesn't matter what you have to say because it's fucking.
And what do you do? What do you do? Fucking play Fortnite, bro?
Cody, with all due respect,
like, come on, bro.
Literally 8,000 people just listen to you say it doesn't matter what I say. 8,000 people choose to differ. Just say it. Like right now. Like, I mean, I bet that throughout the street. Why? I tried to explain to you what the liberal position is on energy production, and I told you to listen up. You didn't listen up, and you interrupted. I don't even care that you interrupted. I just care that like you're paying attention to what I'm saying, so you could actually understand it. Because I conceptually want to explain it to you, but you don't really care about the conceptual explanation. You just care about like being right and annoying the shit out of me. So what is it going to be? Will you actually have a good faith conversation where I can explain to you what the current liberal position on energy is?
Melanie, thank you for the $5 to keep the lights on. Stephanie, thank you so much for the $10. Thank you so much for only debating on TikTok. Emma, thank you for the $1.93. Thank you so much for helping keep the lights on. And Michelle, thank you for the $10 for the love, for the light bill. Love ya.
Anna, thank you for the $5.
So thank you for the $1.
So will you actually listen to me, Cody?
Can I ask you one more question though? And then
you already did. You asked me a question about like about the liberal worldview, Democrats in our country, and how it would relate to energy production. You want to ask me another question first? Why do you have all these questions and you seemingly don't want me to give you an answer?
You obviously don't want me to ask the question, but you're debating on TikTok. And how?
I mean, Cody, like that was like a very correct examination. I don't want you to ask another question because I want to answer your first question. But go ahead.
Okay, answer my first question, then I'll ask it then.
Yeah, so you asked for the current liberal stance on energy production. So actually, Democrats today want our country to be producing as much of these non-renewable forms of energy as possible so we could dominate more of the global market. That's why under Biden and Harris, we produce the most oil that our country ever has, including under Trump. Their goal, right, is to build up a global domination in the market while also heavily investing into renewable energy resources. So when R&D is sufficiently satisfied conditions to make a switch from non-renewable to renewable energy resources without an additional exorbitant cost to the end consumer, we could dominate the global market for non-renewable energy resources, make that switch, and push as many people as possible with that world domination to the renewable energy resources. That's why under Biden and Harris, we produce the most oil we ever have as a country while making the largest multi-million-dollar investment into renewable energy resources we ever have as a country.
Okay, I have a question about that. Since we're producing the most oil that we ever have in the history of the U.S., why are we buying all this oil from foreign countries when we are producing the most?
Nice. I like how you never asked that question under Trump, even though we imported more, and it's because it costs less to import from other countries.
Imported more, but why is everything up higher? Why is a barrel of oil?
Because a reduction in the global because a reduction in the global oil supply.
But why
caused by like external geopolitical conflicts that we don't have an influence over.
Well, why was oil $100 a barrel cheaper when Trump was in office, and then all of a sudden, as soon as we start buying from foreign countries, everything goes through the fucking
So
roof?
once again, I've already corrected that first point. You just didn't listen. We imported more oil from other countries under Trump compared to we do now. The reason why it was less expensive is because there wasn't geopolitical conflict, such as Russia's invasion of Ukraine, calling for sanctions on Russian oil from the EU as well as our own country, that caused there to be a reduction in the global oil supply, as well as it's the case that during the pandemic, less individuals were driving, meaning that there's less of a demand, and with that consistent supply, the barrel price of oil costs less. So hopefully I've explained it now. Dean, look at his post. He made a vid saying it's not a girl, it's just your turn. I gotta look at his page. I don't know what that means. God?
They're looking at my page now. That's funny as fuck. I don't give a shit if they're looking at my page.
Wait, do you support what they said that you said?
I don't even know what they said.
What did I say? What did I say now? What
They said that you said that it's not your girl, it's your turn.
Yeah, because fucking most women in this generation are fucking not very loyal.
Oh, okay. You honestly, you kind of just sound like you're projecting because you know that women are less likely to cheat than men, right?
Also, maybe it's the case that a woman doesn't leave you because she's a WHORE, as you wanted to say, and it's because she has standards and you don't meet them. Ever consider that, buddy? You know, if we actually look at some of the colleges with the highest expulsion rates for academic related reasons, it's going to be the Ivy Leagues, right? Because they have very high standards for who they want to be engaging with the curriculum at their school because they only serve to the best. So when like you explain this idea that, oh, all of these women are leaving all of these men, well, maybe you should have done better, treated her better, took her on a date once in a while. But you just expect to be able to sit in your mother's basement playing Fortnite all day, texting her like once every 3 hours, taking her on a date to fucking Target once every 3 months to buy her a $5 ring pop, and you expect that to satisfy her. Like maybe it's time to get a haircut, shave, take a shower, and, you know, treat your woman better. Maybe she won't leave then.
Saying fucking all this shit. Like, what are you bringing up living in my mom's basement for? For one, I own my own apartment right now. I'm 18. I have a fucking $40,000 pickup plus another.
So you're financially irresponsible.
Oh my god, you got a pickup, bro. You're so cool, dude. You're so very
you're financially
cool.
irresponsible. Why would you spend 40K on a pickup at 18? Like, dude, listen, I'm a car guy. I bet it's cool as fuck. Just saying, I bet your car's sick. Oh, well, a lot of the cars in your repos are cool. I love cars, okay? Don't get that past me. I've definitely made irresponsible financial decisions as that's related to cars too. I love them. But that doesn't change the fact, why the fuck did you buy a $40,000 pickup at 18? Like, you're flexing debt, bro.
40K pickup is why he's complaining about gas prices. So fucking real, dude.
Oh yeah, what's your APG? I bet you straight piped it and cut the muffler off. You're getting 7 to 8 miles to the gallon, and then you're sitting here and blaming it on Biden that you're spending half of your paycheck on gas.
Spending half my paycheck on gas. No, I actually didn't straight pipe it. Whatever the fuck you think every person does with their truck.
Oh, well, I mean, you must not be the coolest car at the meet then. You ever pull up to those meets and hit a little rev and it's just not as loud as the others? Come on.
Okay, but Cody.
Yeah, I play Fortnite all day, but
okay,
no, I get
Cody, but what you just did though was like very incelish. What you did is very incelish. You took literally one thing a woman has done, right? Like the fact that a woman has probably cheated on you, and you're extrapolating that onto every other woman. When women, as a proportion of on averages, are less likely to engage in cheating.
Dude, no one said anything about cheating. It was a fucking TikTok. Can people not make TikToks? Like, you can make these stupid.
You totally brought that up. That's what you literally said that was the reason why you say it's quote unquote your turn. What are you talking about? That's like that's exactly what you said. You said it's not your girl, it's your turn.
If you haven't realized that most girls will fucking just go around, it's called going around. Like, your girlfriend's probably slept with your buddy or something.
What?
Cody, I think you're just projecting the fact that you're an incel. Like, you're literally like incelish, bro.
Cody,
no,
has this
everyone's
happened to
significant
you?
other has not cheated on them. I
Has this
understand that
happened to
like
you?
you're not good enough for like women to want to stay with, but like that's not true for everyone.
Also, has this happened to you? Did you have a girlfriend that cheated on you with one of your buddies?
No, never happened to me.
Then why are you assuming that happened to everyone else?
Posting a TikTok's all just for the fucking fun of it, just like you guys do this for the fun of it, but you just do this for a living because you get a little
You
bit
just sound pretty insecure, bro. That's what I'm saying.
insecure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You sound like an incel, like you're a little bit too insecure.
Insecure? You guys are insecure. You have to get validation from a TikTok live.
Bro, we get hated on more than like anybody else in existence. What do you mean we need validation?
Cody, what are you talking about, bro?
Bro, we are like the most like, dude, please.
How do you do this?
We exist in the most controversial niche. Wait, 1 second. We exist.
Yeah, if we wanted just fucking W's, we would have gone to any other niche. We're literally in the most controversial niche where we are a million fucking people that make videos that they hate us, they don't like us, they think that we're wrong, they think we're stupid. Literally, videos with 100,000 likes of just people literally ranting about how they don't like us. Dude, I don't give a shit about what people fucking give me in terms of response. I'm on here because I'm spreading the fucking facts of reality. I'm trying to inform people. I'm trying to create a better world. I understand that people are gonna not like me, gonna hate me. Not every single person out there is gonna like me. You're one of them, right? There's literally like thousands of people in the chat that don't like Dean and I.
How are you making it a better world? Are you stopping all the fucking crimes in this world?
No, we're arguing against people like you and advocating against things like bigotry. You understand
Also,
that
I
creates better conditions? Having more people arguing against those things?
But wait. You guys do this for a living every day. Like, how do you?
Wait. Also, I just have a question. You said that you spent like 40 G's on your truck. From looking at your profile picture, I'd have to guess it's the GMC. It looks like a Carrera, like a GMT 900, meaning it was produced between 2007 and 2014. I think like the highest you could get a 2014 GMC Sierra with like low mileage is around 30. So you lied about spending 40,000 on your truck, right?
It's a diesel, and it's got the RMT package, which you probably don't know anything about trucks. The factory
Bro, what kind of truck do you drive? Tell us what kind of truck you drive. Is it a 20? Is it a GMC 900?
Thank you.
GMC Sierra 2007 through 2014.
Do you know what a Duramax is?
I'm asking you to tell me what kind of truck you drive, because you accuse me of knowing nothing about trucks. From the looks of it, just the tiny little pixels. 2007 through 2014 GMC Sierra GMT 900.
It's a 2013 GMC. Is it 500 HD?
And it's a Sierra, right?
It's the HD4 Sierra.
Yeah. And how much did you spend on it?
40,000. 39.5 is how much I wrote the check for.
I don't think so.
Swear to God, you want to see the fucking? I have the phone.
Bro got scammed.
And you bought it this year?
Bought it in September. Yeah.
Okay, you paid too much, man. Jordan, thank you for the $10 on Vimeo. I do appreciate you for the love. Anyways,
do you know when you Kelly Blue Book shit?
KBB. I mean, is that like fair market value on KBB?
When you go to the bank and have them plug it into their sites, when they give you back the estimated value, mine was valued at 45 to 49, and I got it for 40. So therefore, it's not a bad deal, especially in the fucking times that we're in, when the interest rates are through the roof because of our shitty economy.
Okay, so interest rates are bad because of global inflation. We had like the best response to inflation literally in the G7. What are you talking about, dude?
Everything got so much worse as soon as Biden's...
How did the Biden-Harris administration cause inflation?
I never said that they caused the inflation.
Yeah, but you're saying that interest rates, the changing of interest rates would be related to the presidency. The only way that could be the case is if there was an increase of inflation caused by the Biden-Harris administration, which then provoked a response from the Federal Reserve to respond specifically by hiring interest rates, which that's not what happened. They hired interest rates because of global inflation, right? Literally causing prices to go up in the United States and around the entire world.
Wait, say that one more time.
There was global inflation because of like supply chain effects due to the pandemic.
Yeah, due to the pandemic, but the pandemic was fucking what, 5-6 years ago now? 5 years ago?
Yeah, so you.
I mean,
you
it was an ongoing thing, but shit should have came down by then.
It has. Wait, the rate of inflation has been down for like 2 years. In fact.
Yeah, and the only reason the Federal Reserve has reduced how much they are limiting these interest rates is because of the impending Trump tariffs that are going to cause inflation.
Yeah, that's true.
Why is everything still through the roof?
Because inflation drives the rate of the increase in the pricing. Okay.
Accumulated inflation.
I'm explaining it to you, Cody. Inflation is the rate of change in the pricing of a good. When inflation goes down, the price of a good doesn't. Just the rate at which it increases does.
Yeah, it's like if you're bleeding, right? You stop the bleeding. You don't like get the blood that you lost, right? You're just stopping the increase of it leaving your body.
Yeah. Whatever you have to say about inflation, it's all caused by this.
Yeah, Cody, I'm explaining it to it because you have trucker bro brain. You have truck bro brain. That's what it is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Hey man, trucks are cool, but there's definitely
okay. Dean, you also have
a
truck brain as well. Have you seen your profile? I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's crazy.
Bro, I love cars.
You go on an app every day, all day, and you fucking debate to get money. I mean, get a life. It's
and
not
Cody, you have a big truck to overcompensate. You have a big truck to overcompensate for something that you're very clearly lacking. Now, if you want to give us an argument, you can.
Can we just talk about this whole like Cody? One second. Shut up. Can we talk about this whole get a life thing real quick?
Get a life. That's
I have more of a life than you do.
What? Why is that?
Yeah, sure. In the last 3 months, I've gotten close to 500 million views on social media. Got invited to the White House. Had a publication. One moment. Had a publication about myself in the New York Times as well as the GQ. And prior to the election, about every 2 weeks, I was flying either to Las Vegas, Michigan, or LA. In fact, I have a trip coming up to LA here in about 2 days for another podcast. While at home, I have an incredibly happy girlfriend who I spend every single night with, and I love her to death. In fact, just 2 nights ago, I took her out on an incredibly kind date. It was so much fun. While I'm also surrounding myself with very supportive and loving family members. What do you mean, get a life?
Because you sit on a TikTok.
Jenny, thank you so much for the $25 for truck, bro. Brain was the funniest thing I've heard in months.
Let's get this
Thank
right.
you so much.
I just want to hear the argument. Give me the argument. I don't have a life because I sit on TikTok. Is that it?
You make lies and you have to argue against people like me every single day.
Wait, Cody, I just want to clarify. You sat in the box to come up on our live.
I clicked on it as soon as I got on the live.
I just wanted to follow this. I just wanted to follow this real quick. Please, just give me the argument why I don't have a life, Cody.
Because you sit on this app every day to make.
Sit on the app. Awesome. Okay. Anything else?
Don't get out of that fucking chair.
Okay, Cody. Is that it? Is it that I sit on the live to make money? Is that it?
Huh?
Is it that I sit on the live to make money? That's why I don't have a life, or anything else?
Dude, you have to fucking argue with people to make money.
Oh, okay. It is it. Okay, it is it. So in other words, you're saying
fucking sad.
No, it's not.
I don't think that's sad. I fucking love it.
Well, and I'll explain to you why. In other words, you're saying because I have a job, I don't have a life. So are you implying that because you have a life, you don't have a job?
What was making TikTok lives a fucking job, dude?
What is a job?
What is a job? Define it.
You go out, you do something.
You go out, you do something, and you make money from it, right?
You do intensive labor.
Intensive labor.
Do something instead of sitting and looking at a fucking phone.
Oh, okay, got it. So all IT specialists that built the phone that you are using right now to communicate with us, that do not work on the manufacturing line, that sit behind their desk and design that shit on CAD for 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, they don't have a job? They don't have a life?
Intensive labor. They're fucking using.
Okay, well, if them sitting behind a computer is intensive labor, then me sitting behind my phone is intensive labor.
Yeah, I have to debate people like you. I think that's pretty fucking intensive.
All you're doing is debating. What do I do for work? Everyone keeps asking that.
Wait. Okay, there are plenty of other jobs where people aren't doing as much, right? Do you think babysitters have a job? Right? And sometimes babysitters, right, could just be literally like the baby's sleeping, right? And they're not taking care of it for a long period of time.
Jordan!
Is that necessarily intensive at the point in which you're babysitting them? Not necessarily.
Jordan, thank you so much for the $35 on Venmo. Shut up, Cody, while I'm thanking my donor. One moment. Jordan, thank you for the $35 on Venmo. I really appreciate you, Jordan. I want to see at least 350 W's for Jordan in the chat. As well as Savani, thank you for the $10 on Venmo saying to get a life. I appreciate you, Savani and Jordan.
What's up?
Pause! Bob! Oh my God! With a $50 on PayPal. I appreciate you so much for the love, Bob. I want to see at least 500 W's for Bob in that chat literally right now. That is so kind of you. Thank you so much for the love, Bob. Everybody show some love to Bob in that chat literally right now. I appreciate you so much for the love. And then also, Kevin O'Leary announced an hour ago that he's near a deal to buy TikTok, and he says that we're doing it.
Oh, what the fuck? That's crazy. I don't know how that's gonna go. Danessa, thank you so much for the $3. Thank you so much on PayPal. Thank you. Cody, what do you do for work?
I'm a plumber.
You're a plumber? Okay. I have a question. Did you have a job in high school?
I did, yes.
Yeah. What type of job did you have in high school?
Plumber.
You were a plumber in high school?
Yep.
Have you had any other job than a plumber?
I have.
What other jobs?
Building shops, construction, all sorts of stuff.
Where's the galaxy? Thank you so much. Is that it? Where's the galaxy?
What other jobs have you guys done?
No, I'm just asking you. Is that it?
Galaxy? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I have a question. Do you think Mr. Beast has a job?
Mr. Beast actually goes and does shit, dude.
What do you mean by does shit? We're doing shit right now while talking to you.
How do you feel that someone without a job is better off than you are?
Mr. Beast, dude.
How do you feel? How do you feel that a jobless 20-year-old is doing better in life than you are?
Yeah, wait, yeah, actually, Cody, can you explain that one?
Okay, let me explain it. How are you doing better in life? Because you fucking travel and you go and make podcasts?
Well, I mean, you specified this whole thing about income this whole time. Now, listen, I am never someone to talk about income. That's not me. I'm not like that. One second. I was raised different than that. I was. But like, I want you to do the math in your head. Today, I've been live for about an hour, and for whatever reason, some of the most kind-hearted, generous individuals that I have ever had the pleasure of stumbling across have happened to be here today. It's been a very special day, and they've happened to show so much love. All right, today, right? I've been blessed, and I mean that truly. I've been blessed, right, with Mama Peach and Dario dropping 3 TikTok universes and a TikTok star.
Dude, what the fuck, dude? Jesus Christ! Today.
Oh
my God!
I know these incredibly kind people, and like I'm so thankful for you guys. But like the point is, Cody, do the math in your head. Figure out how much that is. How the hell are you gonna sit here and say that I'm jobless? Will you admit in the same breath that this fuckhead without a job is doing better than you are?
I did not say that you're a fuckhead, for one. I just said you have no job. You have no life sitting on an app every day. I mean, what are you doing that makes... Like, what are you doing that is an actual job title? Like, what's your job title?
TikTok debater.
Yeah, I typically classify it. Casey,
actually, it's undefined.
I
it's
typically
literally
classify
undefined. They don't have one.
As political commentation. Josh, thank you for the $2 on Venmo. And political debate. And before I got into political commentation and political debate, I did a lot. I did a lot of full stack development. I ran a creative agency. We built out online revenue portfolios for different companies, brick and mortar stores that wanted to expand the e-commerce, or pre-existing e-commerce stores that just weren't doing that well and needed to do better. So that's my specialization prior to TikTok. I also worked with a lot of real estate companies insofar as building out ad campaigns through email, then managing those ad campaigns. I'm like highly versed in like content management systems for dealing with e-commerce, as well as CRMESs for dealing with email marketing. On the business side of things, I've just been in it for a really long time, and I definitely think that this would kind of classify as a job, dude. I feel like the only reason you don't call it a job is because at the end of the day, I am.
He's jealous. He's just jealous. That's what it is. You're so fucking jealous. You wish you were in the position that we are right now, and that's what makes you mad. And you're like, oh my God, you don't have a job to try and spite us.
Well, I was gonna be yo, Christia with the Castle Fantasy. Jeez. Oh Oh my God, Christia!
crazy.
Thank you so much for the love. Everybody show some love to Christia in that comment section. Thank you so much. Everybody, please, please, please show some love to Christia down below right now. Thank you so much. It means the world. I want everybody to show some love to Christia. I mean, I was actually going to be a bit kinder. I was just going to say, yeah, I sit in my chair all day and I look at my phone and I stream. And look, I get really annoyed when I see live streamers on the internet talk about how this idea that they have such a hard job and they work harder than other people. No, that's not true. I'd say like within the live streaming space, like political debaters definitely work the hardest because it's not just the time spent on screen doing what I enjoy, but there is like infinite resource learning through resources and education that goes into it on the back end when I'm not on live. But like ultimately, I had a harder time working at Wendy's than I do on here. Okay, like that physical labor intensive stuff, right, was much more difficult for me than applying like my brain and intellect to other positions and roles such as this. But, right, I don't think that the definition of a job is predicated off of like the literal physical labor input, right? But I rather think that it's going to be predicated off the exchange of valuable commodity. In this sense, the valuable commodity would be education and entertainment. But I would say like this particular job, right, if anything, is a really fun and cool one, because those that engage in the education and the entertainment, everybody watching this from their phone screen, they don't got to pay for it. You could be in here for free. And it is just like very altruistic, kind-hearted individuals that choose to donate and support this stream to allow this to exist in a realm that is totally optional to support through monetary means. But I don't think that changes the fact that it is a job, because this does pay my bills, and I am very privileged and happy that it can. And I ultimately think the position that it's not a job.
Having a cool job doesn't mean it's not a job.
Yeah.
Okay, but like, what are you guys gonna do?
Oh my God, yo, Emily, thank you so much for the $50 from your employer. You and Dean are the best. Thank you so much, Emily. Thank you so much. And Katie, thank you so much. I appreciate the $50 on PayPal. Thank you so much for just helping out the unemployed. Thank you so much.
And
Can we get some
Neely.
W's for them? And Jaden, thank you for the $1. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate y'all.
Neely, thank you so much for the $30 on Venmo, saying because I'm glad this is your job. Thank you so much for the love, Neely. Everybody, please show some love to Neely down below in that chat. As well as Oscar, thank you for the $11 and the 11 cents. Neely and Oscar, you guys are great. As well as Emily with a $50 on Venmo, saying from your employer, you and Parker are the best. Thank you for the love. I want to see infinite W's for Emily, Oscar, and Neely down below in that chat literally right now. But Cody, if you want to respond to that, feel free. But then we are going to get back to the political debates, because this like meta conversation about us having a job or not is just kind of like draining and pointless.
Well, back to the political stuff then.
Carlota, thank you for the $5 on PayPal. I mean, yeah, I'd like you to respond to the fact that I was able to detail to you excruciatingly how this is a job. Do you still disagree? If you just still disagree, just say that, and we're just going to move on.
It's harder to fucking work at Wendy's, is what you said.
Yeah, I did have a more difficult time working at Wendy's than I do what I do now.
Exactly. This is not a job. All it does is pay your bills because you're debating.
Okay, actually, seriously, define job. I'm actually waiting. Define job.
It's just a waste of time, bro.
Amanda, thank you so much for $6 for Cody needs a job. Thank you. And Christian with the $75 on PayPal. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for the joy you and Dean have brought me advocating for gay rights. Yo, thank you so much, Christian. I really appreciate it as always. Yo, W's for Christian in the chat. Can we get some W's for Christian, everyone? Holy shit. Thank you so much. That is actually fucking insane. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Christian.
Guys, make sure that we're double tapping away on that phone screen.
W's, Christian.
Hello?
What's going on, Chief? Did you vote for Trump?
Can I say one thing real quick before you guys kick me? I know you guys got to get on to some other debaters and stuff like that, but other people anyway. I just want to say I really do appreciate you guys for educating.
Chief, I really appreciate you for coming up here and showing some love. You are absolutely phenomenal, and we do really appreciate you. Everybody, please do show some love to Chief in the chat. Dario in the chat says, Dean, I gotta go, but I love you. Dario, I love you too, man. Thank you so much for dropping by and showing love. Everybody, show some love to Dario on his way out. What's up, Ronnie? Are you driving? Oh, Ronnie's not here. We're gonna move on to the next guest. Oh, actually, we're gonna take just 15 seconds for this.
Yo!
Parker, have you talked to Blown recently?
I heard he changed his mind.
Yeah.
Hey, all you guys that are Republicans, listen.
if you guys don't think, what they're saying is true, please do your research, because I promise 99% of what they say is accurate. Just do your research. And listen, y'all, I am proud to say that I have changed my mind. I don't support Trump anymore. And yeah, hell yeah, brothers. Y'all have a good one.
Bro, that's
bro.
like
You have a good
actually
one
such
too,
a
bro.
fucking cool thing. Like, that's actually insane.
I know. I fucking
Actually,
I love
W
the dude.
blown.
Such a
That's
W.
so fucking sick, dude.
Such a fucking W.
That
Like the
honestly, I
ultimate
think
killer.
that shows exactly why we do what we do. Right there,
It does.
literally shows what we do. That's actually so fucking heartwarming. Like, I don't even know how to explain it.
I absolutely agree, dude.
That gives me so much energy to keep going.
Yo, guys, make sure that we are double tapping away on that phone screen, sharing out this live with a handful of friends. We're gonna go to get our next guest up in the box right now, y'all. If you voted for Trump, hop in that queue. Super duper easy, super duper simple. And we got our next guest loading in right now. Spam MAGA in that chat if you want to come up and debate. We are just looking for our next contestant.
Yeah, Morgan, thank you so much. I appreciate the $5. Thank you so much. I'd rather pay money directly to a quality creator instead of some streaming service. Please don't ever get a real job because hold on, I want to read the rest of this and I have to click on it. Don't ever get a real job because listening to these debates is something I look forward to every day. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's incredibly kind of you. Christia with the $75. Thank you so much on Venmo. Thank you, Christia, for keep doing what you do. I've learned so much from you and Dean. I really appreciate that, Christia. Thank you so much. And Carlota, thank you so much for the $6. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Kai here getting paid from Germany. And love indeed for love to Dean for buttering my oh, don't worry, you're good. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Megan, thank you so much. I appreciate the $5. Thank you so much.
We have people like loading in and out. Your guys, if you're MAGA, let us know in the comment section. W's for Christia, y'all. As well as if you want to support either myself or Parker or Venmo's, PayPal's, they're all linked in the link tree in our bio. Super publicly accessible.
Thank you, Kai. I really appreciate it. And Chanel, thank you for the $2.
Okay, Morgan,
Trump
thank you for
is
the...
way better.
How old are
Trump
you?
is way better.
This is totally a fetus.
How old are you?
Yeah, I'm a fetus, but Trump is better.
Yeah. Yeah, the fact that my terminology is actually going around now, people know what fetus means is kind of funny.
Morgan, thank you so much for the $5 on Venmo. I really appreciate you for the love. Thank you, Morgan.
Yeah, what's up? How old are you?
I'm 22.
Did you
Can
vote
you hear
Trump?
me? Yeah, I voted for Trump.
Why so?
Largely due to pro-life policies. Yeah, so I'm pro-life. He's generally going to be more favorable towards pro-life policies compared to Harris. So.
Oh, this will be fun. This will be fun. I would have run this one. Amanda, thank you for the $6 on PayPal saying Cody needs a job. So real. Show some love to Amanda. So if you're pro-life, it means you think that elective abortions are wrong.
Yes.
Name every single reason why an elective lethal abortion is morally wrong.
Why an elective abortion is wrong?
Name every reason.
It's the unjustified taking of human life.
Phenomenal. Okay. And when you say that it's the unjust termination of human life, and that's wrong, what you are entailing would be a rights violation. So let me ask you this question. What gives the life of the fetus moral value?
The fact that it is a living human organism.
Okay. So now you've made your principle clear. If one is a living human organism, they get sufficient moral value to be granted the right to life. And when you unjustly kill them, it is murder. So let me ask you this question. Okay. Wait, actually, I want to go in a different direction. Do you think that all innocent human life has an identical amount of value?
I would say that all innocent human organisms have a right not to be murdered.
Yes, but do they all have the identical amount of moral value? For instance, I'm as morally valuable as you are morally valuable as a fetus is morally valuable.
Well, when you're talking about value, that would be a different thing from a right to live. Would we agree on,
It's
agree on
the
that?
value that grants the right to life. If something isn't morally valuable, it's not going to have the right to life.
Sure. Then I would be willing to say that a born human being has equal value to a preborn human being if we're talking about value being what we're using to define as having a right not to be murdered.
Perfect. So here's my question. There's a pew-pew to your head and 2 buttons in front of you. Button number 1 unalives 10 cryogenically frozen human zygotes that are biologically alive and are human. Button number 2 unalives 1 newborn. Which button are you pressing?
Why do I have to press one of the buttons?
Because if you don't press either of the buttons, everyone dies. 10 zygotes, 1 newborn, and you. You have to press the button.
Okay, just want to make sure I got the question correct. Is it okay if I repeat it back to you?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so you're saying that I have to push one of two buttons. There's no other option. If I don't push any of the buttons, then everyone dies. And the option is I push either button A, in which case 10 frozen embryos, for example, those at an IVF clinic would die. And if I push button B, then it sounds like a newborn human would die. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So let's say that I was to say that I push the button that would ultimately result in the death of the newborn human being, which if I'm trying to preserve the maximum amount of living human organisms would be the route that I would want to take, right? Let's say that I choose to do that. Can you tell me how that would then justify
Jesus
abortion?
Christ.
Can you tell me how that would then justify abortion?
We haven't
Wait, no.
even
Why
gotten
do you say
around to
if,
that.
like, if
Wait,
as if that
did
isn't
I-
the logical
No,
entailment of your
well,
position?
at first I said if, and then I
So-
also said that I'm taking that position,
So-
and then
so
I
Hayden.
asked how that would justify abortion.
So Hayden, we haven't gotten there yet. We
Okay.
haven't gotten around to my justification insofar as why I think that elective lethal abortions prior to a given point are morally permissible. The reason why I asked you this question is to demonstrate an absurdity. And in fact, the absurdity in this case would be that you'd value 10 cryogenically frozen unicellular organisms over a newborn.
The fact that I would value 10 living human organisms over one living human organism.
Yes, when the
Yeah, because
context
they're
of
because they're
10
single cell organisms.
Just a follow up question on that.
Feel free
when
to
you
ask
say-
a follow-up question, then I have
Well,
another
just
one
hang
for you
on, just
because
hang
I
on.
wanna play
When
out
you
that.
when you said that it was absurd, by what standard are you judging it to be absurd?
Yeah, we'd be judging it to be absurd based upon like my preferences. Of
Okay,
course, if
but
you
my
don't think that
preference-
this is-
but my preference
Hayden,
is different
Hayden,
from yours,
five,
so who's
If I
right?
don't interrupt me, I'll describe it to you. You have to be able to let me speak. Are you okay with having a productive?
Sure, but I would
conversation?
like the chance to respond because it seems like
You have a chance to respond after I'm done. You don't have a chance to respond midway through my sentence. Is that fair? Feel free to unmute. I don't want to say anything until you're unmuted.
No,
I don't
I
like
was
muting people.
I just saw I was muted and I've not joined someone else's live before, so I wasn't sure how to unmute, but then it popped up on the screen. So I was just going to
because
ask
I
about
invited
that.
you to unmute. So is it fair for me to say that you can have a chance to respond once I'm done speaking, but you will not have a chance to respond in the middle of my sentence?
Sure, but just a follow up on that. If
So
I
wait,
say
you
that,
don't get a
hang on,
follow up though,
hang on.
because remember
No,
I was in the
no,
middle
I'm
of my
not asking
sentence.
a question.
No, sir,
I'm just
no, you don't get a follow up because I was in the middle of my sentence to your last follow up. In order for us to have a productive conversation, we both have to be able to have a chance to speak. I notice the biggest issue with a lot of people that come up here and debate, a lot of people that debate in general, this is true of the right as it's true of a lot of people on the left, right, is trying to remove a chance for a response, right? I feel as if you're trying to avoid an actual conversation because you don't want me to address what you say. So I'm going to address what you say one by one, and you could respond and then ask me new questions one by one. I could do the same thing to you. That's how you have a productive conversation. I hate that I have to teach this to people. Okay, so the last thing you asked me is how is it absurd, right? Or what determines absurdity? I told you that I'm indexing the absurdity to my preferences. You then told me, well, what if you have different preferences? Who's right and who's wrong? So in that situation, there's going to be no objective arbiter of whose preferences mean more. So you're right, that would be a dead-end position as it didn't entail a contradiction, right? So here's the next step, okay? And I wanted to take it in this route. Let's see here. So you think that all human organisms deserve the exact same amount of moral value and are all deserving of a similar human life. And I want to see how far you're willing to take this to see if it's truly the human life that you value or if there's other traits that you value that you're just not making clear. If there was a human zygote that were to remain a human zygote for the rest of its existence and not grow into anything more, not have any potential or capacity for a higher level of rationale, etc., would you value it the same as you value yourself, or me, or Parker, or anyone else?
Yes.
Okay. Now, please tell me why you should value a unicellular organism that will remain a unicellular organism insofar as determining that it's murder as long as it's a part of our species. Meanwhile, you don't think you're doing anything wrong when you brush your teeth and kill 400 trillion life forms that are of a similar size, standard, and growth potential as that unicellular organism.
Sure. So when I brush my teeth, I'm not killing any living human organisms. And if you reject the standard that all living human organisms are equally valuable and equally have a right not to be murdered, then I would argue you end up with some repugnant consequences. Now, the problem with your line of questioning here is that you still haven't established an absolute standard of rationality by which you're going to judge my answers or yours outside of your personal preference. And if your personal preference is the only standard you're judging my answers by, then all I have to do is judge your answers by my personal preference, and there is no ultimate arbiter, is there?
So, Hayden, as I already described, when we want to use our preferences to determine what's absurd and what's not absurd, you're right, and that's why I'd classify that as a dead end. However, the absolute standard for rationale would just be the three consequential classical laws of logic, and we typically judge the internal validity of an argument based upon an internal contradiction given in another belief in which you hold to be true. However, to go ahead and finish off what I was originally saying to you, you said
essentially
that
what he's saying is that it's going to end up violating your own intuitions by the use of like some sort of consistency test.
Yeah.
Okay,
and the
just
consistency
hang on.
test would
One
be guided-
question there.
No, because I was in the middle of speaking still. We agreed that in order for us to have a fair conversation, we both have to be able to finish speaking. I allowed you to do that. And at
I
first
was
you
just
allowed
trying
me
to
do that
clarify.
too.
Yeah, that was my bad for cutting him off.
Oh, no, you're good, Parker. I think he hopped in after that and took it as a way to respond. So anyways, to go back to what I was saying, so you told me that you would value a unicellular organism that had no growth potential and would remain a unicellular organism for the rest of its existence as long as it's a part of our species. So tell me why similar genome in the sense of the structure of our DNA or I guess similar enough for biologists to classify as a part of your same species is morally valuable. I find that to be insane, and I'd ask you for your reasons why.
So just to clarify the question again, so the reasoning why I would value a living human organism at the zygote stage, so the one-celled stage, versus other forms of one-cellular life.
That is the only stage it will exist in ever.
Yes, and you're asking me to compare that to the value of something that is also one cell but doesn't have unique human DNA, so something like a horse at the zygote stage or something like that?
Actually, no. The question that I'm asking you is why is DNA that is sufficiently similar to yourself to be categorized as a Homo sapien sapien grant moral value?
Because it's made in the image of God.
There we go.
Okay,
So
and then
relates back
do
to
I have a chance to examine your position yet?
Almost. There's one more thing that I bet Parker would want to run on you as it relates to Christianity and your pro-choice position.
I mean, you can run your thing on him. There's just one point I would want to bring up with Christian.
Okay, fantastic.
We'll leave it up to you. I've been asking things of you. You get to choose, Hayden.
Yeah, I've been waiting a while. And just a quick clarification, when I was trying to ask a question, it actually wasn't going to be about your position. It was just going to be about the course of the conversation going forward. So I wasn't actually interrupting to try to sort of ask a question that would help my view. I was just trying to clarify sort of the terms of the future of the conversation. So I did just want to clarify that. But now that I do have a chance to examine your view, what would you consider makes a human being, actually any being, value? What would you consider gives a being a right not to be murdered by another human being?
Yeah, so I hold a conjunct to distribute moral value sufficient to grant the right to life. I hold the same conjunct as Parker, and that would be a conjunct between past or present, and future subjective experiences. If you'd like me to explain to you what a conjunct is, if you don't happen to know, please feel free to ask. However, I bet you do.
Yeah, and so one question I have under that conjunct, can you give me an example then of beings that would fit that?
Sure. Like a fetus at about 20 through 24 weeks, in accordance with the current medical consensus on when the ability to deploy any level of sentience emerges. It would be an example of an individual or an entity that fit that conjunct, or just like you and I. You, me.
Okay, so yeah, just a clarification then on that. Let me make sure I got your position here right. So your position would be that you value any life form that has a conjunction between past or present and future subjective experiences?
So typically this conjunction would be applied to grant the right to life in a special sense to humans, but that gets into like a lot of nonsense. So like for all intensive purposes, that'd be the position. It would entail ethical veganism. You might take it down that road. And that's just, I'd say, the easiest position to argue for all intents and purposes. But the water could get muddy. Like for instance, if you could hold like another clarification of you also have to be a human for some other reasons, but
just another
conjunct
conjunct
is generally true.
Okay, so just a question on that then. If you had to choose between saving 10 adult pigs or one newborn human being, which would you choose?
It'd be the newborn human being
absolutely,
for the reason that we already listed.
What's that reason? Maybe I missed it.
Yeah, you
in
add
the
on,
conjunct
like,
of human.
Conjunct of a
They
human.
meet a particular threshold
Okay.
of rationality. So we also have the same.
Just 1 second there. Don't all of the adult pigs also have a conjunct between past or present and future subjective experiences?
Yeah, but they don't meet the second conjunct of also being human.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay, I guess another line of reasoning that then might help me understand your position a little bit better. If I offered you guys, and I'm not going to give you guys this money, but just take it as hypotheticals for the sake of me sort of examining your position here. If I offered you $1 million plus a plastic water bottle that is empty, what would you offer to pay me for that?
Wait, say that one more time?
Yeah, if I offered you $1 million in addition to a plastic water bottle that is completely empty, how much would you offer to pay me for that?
Anything under $1 million?
Okay, so like roughly $1 million.
Under $1 million.
Yeah, I'm confused
Okay,
with
so
the
like
relevance of this one.
not well. We'll get there. So like $999,999, you can make $1 profit.
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously that's in like a theoretical sense. Like we wouldn't actually like be willing to do that in real terms because there's plenty of opportunity costs you have to take into account, liability, other types of preferences.
Okay, but
that would be relative, but-
would $999,000 roughly be about what you'd pay, right?
I'd offer to pay you anything that would inevitably...
like-
How about this? We just set this principle. I'd offer to pay you anything that would inevitably allow me to profit.
Okay, let me maybe rephrase that.
Yeah, that's theoretical, but like in reality, that wouldn't actually.
Okay, let me rephrase that in a way that might be more helpful. What is the value of $1 million plus an empty plastic water bottle, roughly?
$1 million and like 3 cents.
Okay, thank you. What is the value of a plastic water bottle and a crushed pop can?
Like, I don't know, 6 cents maybe?
Okay, and what is the value of $1 million plus a crushed pop can?
Like once again, $1 million and 3 cents.
Okay, gotcha. So the reason that I brought that up is because it seems to me that when you say a human who has a conjunction between past or present and future subjective experiences has value enough to not be murdered, but every single other non-human animal that has that same conjunction, we can go ahead and kill for food, or we can go ahead and kill to help the environment or something like that, then it seems to me that the part that's providing all of the value in the union between the being and the conjunction of past or present and future subjective experiences is the human part, isn't it?
No, it'd be both of them together.
Yeah, and
that's what a conjunct is.
Yeah.
No, but my question is, when we talk about other non-human
Because if
animals
it's
that
just
also
human,
have
I'll
the
give you an
conjunction.
example. Can I give you an example? If there was
Sure,
a
go
specific
for it.
zygote, I wouldn't care about killing a zygote. You can kill 1 trillion zygotes and I wouldn't give a shit.
Yeah.
If I slap a zygote under your view, I should go to prison, right?
And then, like, additionally, one other thing is, like, I'm pretty agnostic on ethical veganism. So, like, maybe it is wrong to kill pig or something along those lines, but...
Yeah, but, like, we would still say that, like, we would rather save 1 newborn baby over 10, right? Ethical, that's not an entailment of ethical veganism. All right, and we can have our separate discussions on, like, veganism and stuff like that, and what that would entail, but having a difference in value between humans and non-humans isn't, like, an entailment of veganism.
And then another perspective on why, like, I might save, like, a newborn baby over, like, a billion... Well, not a billion pigs. Maybe a billion pigs, who knows? Is that I'd care sufficiently much more about the second condition of the conjunct, that being their future capabilities, but it's going to be entirely predicated on past or present. And
Well, just one
because
question there.
of
If
the
it's about-
predication of
if it's-
future abilities on past or present abilities, present that in a fetus, like in a fetus at 20 through 24 weeks, a newborn baby, are going to be considerably more valuable than a pig. However, you still hold that axiomatic truth, that being that you could only make future considerations predicated on what has existed prior or what currently does.
So let's try this then. So same scenario I mentioned earlier where you can either save those 10 pigs or the 1 newborn human, but you know that 1 newborn human has some sort of birth defect where they're actually guaranteed to die at about 2 years old. So you can't really appeal to them having a future conscious experience that exceeds that of a pig, since consciousness is more of a spectrum than a dividing line. It's something that increases over time, increases with development. Which would you choose then, knowing that newborn human being isn't going to develop past age 2? It'll die at age 2.
I don't see why this would be an entailment. We would still say the human. I'd still rather save the human.
And doesn't that expose though that what's providing all the value is the humanity and not the conjunction?
No. What's providing the value is those traits together. That's how a conjunction works.
No, but what I'm pointing out though is when I take those
traits in conjunction, because I just explained to you, I wouldn't care if you killed an infinite level of human zygotes. Right? They have that human. Right, but they don't have the sentience. So you understand that you could say from both perspectives, right, that one's carrying the weight of the other one. Well, they're both carrying it together. That's how a conjunction works.
But the sentience is pretty clearly not what's mattering here, is it?
Well, I just explained specifically it's sentience plus the fact that they're human, right?
And the human's doing all the work there.
No, it's not. I just explained in the context of a human zygote. I don't care if you were to kill an infinite set of human zygotes.
I think I would like to raise a point to demonstrate like how much sentience matters, and I think I could relay this point to you in a way that you might be able to agree. So let's just assume that the entirety of the species of humanity remains the same. However, all right, humans evolved in such a way to not deploy any sentience. We were meat bags on the floor. In this alternative world, who would you rather save? 10 of the meat bag non-sentient humans, or 1 cow?
So just one question here. If I assume that worldview, then Christianity would necessarily not be true. Do you recognize that, right?
Well, Christianity is
Because
already
you're assuming macroevolution, which would contradict the biblical account of Genesis.
Okay, so in other words,
wait. You think evolution contradicts Genesis?
Believing that the Earth is millions of years old and that it wasn't created in 6 days is an
How old is
obvious
the Earth?
contradiction. So you'll get different numbers depending on how you go through the chronological order of events in the Bible, but I would say less than 25,000 years is what you probably have to answer if you believe in a literal Genesis.
Wait. So
It's
you just like
45,
you
by the way.
deny science completely and totally just because your biblical view says so? That's like actually insane.
Hey Parker,
25,000
hang on.
years?
Is science based on the uniformity of nature?
What do you mean by uniformity of nature?
That nature will act in the future as it has in the past?
No. What we're saying is it's likely to. Right, so we're not saying it's certain. What we're saying is it's very likely to, based upon the evidence within the context of science. We're saying it's very likely.
Models.
And when you say it's likely to, what are you basing that on?
We're basing it on priors.
We're basing
On priors. So if I ask you how you know gravity will act tomorrow,
it's on models. It's on models. It's on models.
if I ask you, okay, so again,
Models
just
predict
give me a chance to ask a question. If I ask you, how do you know gravity will act tomorrow as it has in the past? What would your answer be?
Again, probability.
But that begs the question.
Well, how's that beg? What begs what question?
Because
Are
I
you
didn't
saying that
ask.
are you saying we require certainty in order to be able to establish true claims?
Again, I'm just going to repeat the question, and I'll point out how it's
can you
begging the
answer the
question
question?
fallacy. I'm trying to. When I say, how do you know gravity will act tomorrow as it has in the past? And then you say, well, it's likely to based on what's happened in the past. I'm not asking about what's happened in the past. I'm asking about what's going to happen in the future, aren't I?
It's probability.
And what are you basing that probability
That's what
on?
Probability is.
What are you basing the probability on?
Based upon what's occurred, right? The
So you're
fact
basing
that
it on
it's
the
occurred
past.
a repetitive level of times.
Am I
indicates
asking
a
about the
greater
past or the future?
Aiden, can I explain to you how this can justify a greater level of probability? If you
Go
can
for it.
identify that something happens over and over and over again on a repetitive basis, does that increase the probability that that is the cause of the action?
Do you just also reject?
Can I answer what Parker just
Hold on,
answer what Parker just
let him
asked?
answer quick, yeah.
He's just rejecting.
Okay, yeah. So if I was to go buy 1,000 red houses, and you asked me what color is the next house going to be, and I say that it's red because that's what the houses have been in the
Yeah, that would
past.
be most
do
likely,
I know?
yeah.
Do I know? Really? Really?
It's not certain, but
Parker.
It's most likely.
Dude,
Really?
No.
Or could it be any color?
Wait, no, it could be any color, but what is most likely?
Nah, he's tricky.
Well, hang on. How do you know that it's most likely to be red?
Again, because of the fact that there are priors that indicate the likelihood of it being this way.
Bro, Hayden.
And so if I
there's
flip a coin,
probability of it being
there's
the
a better
case.
example you could use, Hayden. It's
yeah,
flipping
if I roll a dice, for example, that's 10-sided and it lands on
all you're
10.
bringing up is the problem induction. I'm not disputing that there is a problem, but that's not a problem in terms of the likelihood or whether or not we can say true things are the case, right? It is just simply describing that we're not certain. Okay,
Right.
us not being certain is not a
Do you
critique
live like
of
that?
the worldview.
Do you live like that?
I live based on probability, right? What are you talking about?
on this particular
You don't have a
point,
basis for
on this particular point. One second. On this particular point, Hayden is right mathematically speaking. However, he's obfuscating between two separate positions. So the positions that he's obfuscating between is like a prediction of like gravity existing tomorrow because it existed prior, and like the prediction of what is going to be true of the next coin flip because of the coin flips prior. So like for instance, if you flip a coin like 100 times and the first 50 times you flip it, it lands heads, right? That doesn't increase the probability of it landing heads the next, right? And he's trying to use this point to obfuscate between this other point that's
because we have other knowledge
certain-
about other priors or other things that could be the case. If we didn't have that
Because-
knowledge, we wouldn't be able to make that assertion.
Okay, I didn't track that. My bad.
No. If you don't have knowledge about something, you're going to be able to make a different probabilistic assertion, right? Because evidence points towards a particular thing. That's reasonable for someone to conclude if it is the case that they have a certain set of information.
Hey, just one question. I know we're kind of getting over towards religion. I do want to be respectful of the prompt you have up. If you guys do want to take it back to the Trump will be terrible for America.
Before we do it, I want to run one thing on you.
Go for it.
Okay. Do you think you should do as God does?
Do I think that I should do as God does? I think that I should obey God's prescriptive will.
So if God does something, does that indicate it's good?
So, for example, if you're talking about abolishing the creator-creature distinction and saying that I have the right to essentially defy what God has written in his prescriptive will, then no. So, for example, if you were to say that God decrees that some babies or some people... Sorry, go ahead. Maybe I'm just trying to infer too much. Parker, go ahead.
Do you make a will distinction?
What do you mean?
You have the decretive will and the descriptive will? Like
the prescriptive versus the decretive will. Yes, I'm a Calvinist, Reformed.
Oh, no. Okay, go ahead.
So do you believe in free will?
I believe that humans have the ability to make uncourse decisions consistent with their nature.
Okay, so you're a compatibilist. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then God still can program actions, right?
What do you mean by program?
Based on nature, like he establishes the nature.
Well, I'd say that he decrees whatsoever comes to pass.
I just want to make sure.
Does
Hayden,
God establish the nature of human beings?
Here's a better way.
I'm trying to figure out what you mean by establish the nature.
Here's a better way to run it. Does God have free will?
Does God have free will?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
I'm asking you if the entity of God has free will in the same way, and the entity of Hayden, Dean, and Parker have free will.
I would probably say that we don't have free will in the same way that. Actually, let me think about that for a second. So I'd say that humans have the ability to make uncoerced decisions consistent with their nature. I would also say that God has the ability to make uncoerced decisions consistent with his nature. So I would say yes.
That's what I'm asking you.
Yep.
So is goodness an essential attribute of God's character?
Is goodness an essential attribute of God's character? So I would say that God is the standard of goodness.
Nature, not character.
Sorry, can you repeat that? I might have misheard.
Is goodness an essential attribute of God's character?
Is goodness an essential attribute of God's character? Well, sorry, character or nature?
Nature. Sorry.
Okay.
I said character, I didn't mean to.
Okay, my bad. So the question is goodness a necessary attribute of God's nature?
Yep.
Okay. I would say that if I was to say yes, right, I think you would probably object by saying that then I'm appealing to a standard of good outside of God. Am I correct?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I would say God is the standard of goodness, and so he's necessarily good.
Okay, so God's necessarily good. Perfect. That's all I wanted to ask. So God has free will, and God's necessarily good. If God's necessarily good, this means that God can't do bad things, right?
If God is necessarily good, it means that he can't do bad things. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Phenomenal. So God has free will, although God can't do bad things.
Just
Obviously,
one real quick though. Remember,
I'm almost done cooking.
Okay, go ahead.
So God has free will, but God can't do bad things. What this means, in accordance with how you define free will, that having free will is compatible without the ability to do bad things. This could be described by just defining the nature of an entity in which uncoerced decisions can be made under as exclusion of all things in which are bad, right? So in other words, God could have created humanity to have such a nature to exclude all things in which are bad, just like his own, where humans never do any bad things. But he didn't. And because God is all good, this means that a reality in which humans do bad things, or at least have the ability to do bad things, is preferable to a reality in which humans have free will without the ability to do bad things. How do you explain this? Because what this is telling us is that God prefers humans to do the Holocaust over the humans not doing the Holocaust. Because if God wanted to avoid the Holocaust that he had certain knowledge of occurring, he would have designed our natures in such a way that didn't allow us to do the Holocaust.
Dean, I think just one question. This might just be because maybe you haven't studied a Calvinism or the Reformed view, but in regards to events that I think you might consider evil, such as the Holocaust, are you aware that in the Calvinist view, in the Reformed view, I would say that God actually decreed that would take place in history? Are you aware of that?
I mean, I think that is like theologically consistent with your views. I'm not familiar with Calvinism, but I mean, that is kind of what I described. God has certain knowledge of this occurring. He could have made it not occur, but he had a preference for it occurring.
Okay, so
words,
this might be...
God had a preference for the Holocaust occurring compared to the preference of the Holocaust not occurring?
Dean, so this is, I'm trying to answer the question, but I want to do it in a way that's sort of consistent with Calvinism and maybe help you kind of better understand the Calvinist position there. In regards to the Holocaust, it's not just as though, God created humans, he gave them like this free will and they decided to do it and he couldn't do anything to stop them. In the view of Calvinism, it's actually that God decreed that event would take place in history.
Yeah, so God prefers the Holocaust occur rather than not occur. Do you agree?
So I would say that he decreed that event would take place in history.
No, I would like a specific answer to the question. Like,
necessarily that would be the answer, right? That if he would prefer that take place than not take place, if he decreed it in history.
And you think it's good, right? Wait, do you think that's good?
Are you going to allow me to finish?
I want to relate this back to one other point. Go ahead and finish, and then I want to relate this back to one other thing you said, but we are interrupting you. I don't want to do that. You're being kind of being okay. Go ahead and finish.
Yeah, so when you guys look at that, you might say, well, then doesn't that make God evil? Now, I would say no. And the reason that I can say that is because when I look at...
We won't go there.
Okay. Well, what I was just going to point out is, okay, if you go to like Genesis 50 verse 20 is a good example of this. It says, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." It's referring to when Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers. And in that case, the brothers meant it for evil. They're going to be held to account by God for those actions. But at the same time that the brothers meant it for evil, God had a bigger picture in mind, namely that Joseph would then be brought into Pharaoh's household and be able to...
I'm familiar with theistic,
okay.
with skeptic theism. That's what it's called, right? Skeptic theism.
I don't think that's where I was going. I mean, maybe it is, maybe it's not, but I'm not familiar with that term.
The greater plan. Like, if the Holocaust didn't occur, the maximum amount of goodness wouldn't be achieved, right?
It's not even necessary. Well, sure, that might be one way to put it. I mean,
yeah. So
that might be.
So we agreed earlier that under your view, goodness and badness, as you define it, is all consequential that of God and His nature and His goodness, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So if God, in this ultimate sense, decrees the Holocaust out of a preference for the greater good, it means He thinks it should occur. Does that mean you think it should have occurred?
Again, I mean, just one second here. I mean, I'll say this for about the fourth time. I believe that God decreed that event to take place. I'm still not sure that you're getting that.
Yeah, he decreed it to take place, but He drives all of His decisions and actions with goodness, meaning that He thinks it should occur.
Well, He's going to work it all together for His good. I mean, that's what's promised in Romans 8:28.
You could say God thinks it should occur because He's going to work it. No. Please let me finish this point. Please let me finish this point. I'll be super duper quick, then I'll give the mic to you. But this is the point.
Well, just
ultimately,
okay.
no. 1 second.
Go ahead.
I'll be super quick because I want to let Parker speak. I just really want to finish this point. So ultimately speaking, regardless of what the reason is, you could say wrapping it into God's master plan, achieving the maximum amount of goodness, the maximum amount of greatness, God thinks that the Holocaust should occur. And if all of your goodness and badness, all these moral propositions that you find to be the case are derivative of what God thinks, does this mean that you also think that the Holocaust should have occurred for reasons X, Y, Z?
So you're making a conflation between prescriptive will and decretive will there. Do you recognize that? So, for example, the people who committed the Holocaust,
I want you to explain to me exactly what that means, because there's no conflation being made.
Okay, so God's decretive will would be everything that takes place in human history. You recognize that?
He decrees it to occur because He thinks it should occur.
Yeah, that's His decretive will. Okay. Now, the difference?
All that we're talking about is the fact that all things considered,
finish?
God thinks a Holocaust should occur, right?
He decreed it to be that way.
So which means He thinks it should have occurred, right?
Yes, He decreed that it would occur.
Okay, so if God...
Now let me explain
occur.
prescriptive will.
No. He decreed
okay, so I don't get a chance to respond, do I?
As it should occur.
He decreed that it would take place that way.
So does God think it should have occurred or not have occurred?
Yes, He decreed that it would occur. But when you say should, hang on, you got to let me explain the difference between decretive will and prescriptive will.
The introduction
I've asked
of
to explain this for the
normativity.
last 20 seconds. You're not letting me finish my explanation of it, are you?
God drives His decisions.
Are you going to let me finish the explanation?
So explain to me how it's the case that God didn't think that the Holocaust should have occurred.
Okay, if I start, will you allow me to explain the difference between His decretive will and His prescriptive will?
Yes. However, the explanation won't be relevant.
All right, so God's decretive will is whatsoever comes to pass because He's all powerful. Now, His prescriptive will is what He's told us in the Bible. So one example of His prescriptive will was you shall not murder. Now, you can apply that to both the Holocaust that went on in Germany as well as the abortion Holocaust, but I'll go back to the Germany example for now, just not to go back to abortion. So when Hitler and other people were to have murdered the Jews, they were making uncoerced decisions consistent with their sin nature. When they die, they will be held to account for their actions before God, and He won't say, oh, I decreed it this way, and therefore you're exempt from punishment. No, they made an uncoerced decision to sin in accordance with their sin nature. They will be held to account, and unless they put their faith in Christ and had Christ's righteousness credited to them, they will be sent to hell.
I hear you, and this is the reason why this isn't relevant. Because ultimately speaking, we're going to be talking about God and His decisions that He makes. You like to make a split into two separate wills, okay? The issue with the two separate wills is that these wills ought not be contradictory to one another. Could you agree there?
Just one question. So you're saying that they are contradictory or that they are not?
No, I'm asking you a question. Can God's wills contradict one another?
Well, there's necessarily a distinction between His decretive will and His prescriptive will. They're not the same will.
I'm not asking you if they could be distinct of one another. I'm asking you if they could contradict one another.
Okay, maybe I didn't do a good job explaining it. Let me try making a clarification here. Okay, when I'm referring to His prescriptive will, that would be what He has prescribed for human beings to obey. I understand.
I'm asking you if God could have contradictory wills.
Well, it depends on what you mean by will.
You're the descriptive and the prescriptive, as you've already described. Can those wills contradict one another?
Okay, good. That's a good question. So the question, I guess, rephrase, let me know if I've got it, right? Could essentially be, can God decree that someone violates His prescriptive will? And in that case, I would say yes.
I'm asking you if there could be a contradiction within the wills.
I think I just answered that by saying He can...
No. What is a contradiction? What is a contradiction?
Feel free to explain it to me.
I'm asking you to define contradiction.
Mm-hmm. So a good example of a contradiction would be if I was to say that something is both A and not A at the same time. That'd be a contradiction, wouldn't it?
Yes, right? So when I ask you if God can have contradictory wills, inevitably, all that I'm asking you is, can God will that A should be the case while simultaneously willing that God shouldn't be the case, that A shouldn't be the case?
No.
No, exactly. So God's wills can't contradict one another, right?
His decretive will and his prescriptive will are two different things. When we say the term,
I didn't ask you. I did not ask you about that. I'll run over the last 15 seconds of conversation
Okay,
once again.
cool.
I asked you if God could will that A should be the case while simultaneously willing that A shouldn't be the case. All right.
Yeah, and I already
That is
answered-
an
I already
example
answered no.
of two contradictory wills, and you answered no. So in other words, God can't have wills that contradict one another. Correct, right?
well, just hang on a second. I think you're still making not a clear distinction between what I mean when I say prescriptive will and decretive will. So maybe the problem.
I'm not calling the
Just let me
prescriptive
finish. Are you going to let me finish any
contradictory.
sentence I start?
All that I'm asking you
Are you
is
gonna
for
let me
the
finish?
logically entailed conclusion that the two wills cannot contradict one another.
Are you going to let me
Because
finish?
When you say
the problem
that, when you say that God can't will for A to be the case while also willing for A not to be the case, you're saying that God can't will two contradictory things. So when you want to frame God as having two distinct and separate wills, you could uphold that position while merely arguing that these wills are not contradictory, right? And that would be logically implicated, given your last statement, that his wills cannot contradict one another. If you reject that logical implication, please say so. However, to stay in accordance with logic, you must necessarily accept that logical implication. So now that you've accepted the case that God cannot have contradictory wills, and this would be applicable to his descriptive and prescriptive wills, all things considered, God thinks that the Holocaust should have occurred to achieve either some greater good, a greater total amount of glory for himself, etc. And when we can understand that conclusion, that all things considered, God thinks that the Holocaust should have occurred, right? We get into miscellaneous nonsense with you then describing the pro toto evil of the Holocaust. Sorry, pro tanto evil.
Okay, so you spent some time examining my position. Do I get a chance to quick examine yours? As I think you're an agnostic, right?
No. The reason I say no is because seemingly we've now been resulted down to a position where you have to accept that in this all things considered sense, the Holocaust should have happened. And when you try to define a sense of evilness,
Hayden, let me clarify to you.
Yeah, Parker, can you hop in here? I don't think Dean's necessarily listening to what I'm saying.
No. What Dean meant by there, he's not agnostic on Christianity. He's agnostic on like where we come from, right?
Yeah,
like,
I'm aware. That's what I meant.
Human existence. Yeah.
Why would I let you turn the argument on me when I define with clarity that your position here, that there's some sense of evilness as applied to the Holocaust, is trivial nonsense?
Well, hang on. When you say trivial nonsense, I'm happy to respond. I was going to respond to what you said, but I thought that it was only fair that since I let you critique my worldview for about 15 minutes there, that I get a chance to spend about 15 minutes critiquing yours. But if you want me to keep defending mine, I'm happy to. I was just going to try to move the conversation forward because it didn't seem like you were really listening to what I've been saying for the last 10 minutes. Because I've said about five times now that God has decreed that the Holocaust would take place, and yet you still don't seem to grasp that. So do I get a chance to critique your worldview now?
No, in fact, I grasp that with clarity. In fact, my entire argument is predicated off of that being true. Because God decreed the Holocaust, and God is driven by goodness, ultimately, any reasons why he would have to decree the Holocaust would be good consequentially. And because all the reasons to decree the Holocaust are good, ultimately, the Holocaust should have occurred. And because ultimately the Holocaust should have occurred, in what sense was the Holocaust evil? And when you respond and you say that it's evil in the sense that it's in violation of his descriptive will, prescriptive will, i.e. the moral commandments as defined by your religious texts, I see that as arbitrary, trivial nonsense. And the reason I see that as arbitrary, trivial nonsense is because this entire predication of what is good and bad is ultimately predicated on what should and shouldn't be the case. So when you argue that there's this event that should have occurred, that God decreed with only good reason, that amounts to a greater level of glory to himself, in what sense shouldn't it have occurred?
Okay, so let me quick respond to that. So the difference between, I think, me and maybe what your view is here is that I believe in a God so big that he can take the evil actions of man and use them for good, as is promised in Genesis 50 verse 20, as is shown in the crucifixion of Jesus Christ himself, when God took an innocent man and decreed that he would be crucified by people, though he was perfectly sinless. God then used that to bring about the salvation of all of the elect. So I know from scripture in Genesis 50 verse 20, as well as in the life of Jesus himself, that God can take these sinful and horrendous and wicked actions of man and use them for good. And I'm also promised that in Romans 8 verse 28. So when I look at these evil actions that I think you and I would both say are evil, I can actually trust that God has a morally sufficient reason for that and that he will use it for good, because I've seen him do it throughout human history, in particular in the life of Jesus.
Yes. And what you are describing, go ahead, Parker. I've been talking for too long. Go ahead.
Yeah. So then it seems like in that scenario, you're saying that using evil is better than not using evil, or the existence of evil is better than the non-existence of evil.
Exactly.
What do you mean by that when you say evil, Parker?
Just give two
against God's preference.
Okay, so you're saying, just maybe repeat using against God's preference. Maybe I'll understand that a little bit better.
Yeah, so again, you're saying the existence of evil is preferable to the existence of no evil.
No, I'm saying that God decreed that some human beings would violate his commands, and that when those human beings violate his commands,
You're not answering
God
Parker's
will...
question.
Two
possible worlds.
You're just not letting me finish.
Two possible worlds. The one that we live in, where the Holocaust happened, and then another possible world where God contorted the nature of man in such a way where the Holocaust couldn't happen. Which possible world is more preferable?
Well, the possible world that is more preferable is the one that God has decreed.
Which is,
in this case, the one where the Holocaust happens. Now, I do have a question. Hang on.
That's Parker's point.
Are you going to let me finish? Are you going to let me finish?
I'm going to pass the mic back to Parker.
Okay.
Because that's all that Parker was asking.
Now, again, you've spent 20 minutes examining my worldview. When do I get to examine yours?
Wait, I have a question.
Both of you.
Think about the 1.2 million abortions that were had last year. All of those abortions should have occurred, right?
God decreed that they would all take place. Nevertheless, the women and the men or whoever murdered their preborn children will be held. Are you going to let me finish again? How many times you got to interrupt me, dude?
The reason why I'm interrupting you, not letting you finish, is because that's not what I asked. That's all.
Okay, well, people are becoming quiet. I'm going to say thank you to some people. Kristen, thank you so much for the $10. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Trinity, thank you so much for the $5. I appreciate it. Thank you. Tessa, thank you so much for the $25. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Thank you so much, Tessa. Bree, thank you so much. I appreciate the $1. Nicole, thank you for the $10. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Autumn, thank you for the $15. And Sarah, thank you for the $5. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Is Hayden able to unmute himself? Or...
And click on your profile picture and then click on the icon of mic. Essentially, the question resulted in the consequence of two possible.
Am I unmuted now?
Yeah.
Essentially, the question resulted in okay.
You asked about how God decreed about 1 million abortions last year, right?
No. So once again, I asked you if those 1 million abortions occurring were preferable to a possible world in which they didn't occur due to the contortion of the nature of men.
So God had decreed that those abortions would take place. And that being said, they would obviously be preferable, according to God, than not taking place because he decreed that it would be that way. That being said, the people who murdered their preborn children were making an uncoerced decision consistent with their sin nature and will therefore be held to account by God. And of course, because I also believe Romans 8 verses 28, I can also trust that God will work all things together for the good of those who love him, including the death of those children who were murdered by their parents.
Can we save the repetition? Because every time we want to ask you a question, you repeat the same thing. We understand what you're repeating, and in fact, that's what we're trying to address. But go ahead, Parker.
Yeah, one thing I would say is that, can you define evil real quick, Hayden?
Sure. Exodus 20.
Yeah, I'm just asking you to define it real quick.
Yeah, so that which is good is that which is pleasing to God. That which is evil is that which is displeasing to God. So that which is good would be that which is in obedience to God. That which is evil is in disobedience to God.
Okay. So if you're saying that evil should exist, right, rather than not exist, right, then you're making the claim is that evil is pleasing to God, right?
When you say that, I'm saying that evil should exist. What I'm saying is that God decrees evil to take place. That's not the same thing as me saying that people should go and commit evil. I just want to make that distinction.
But it's good for evil to exist.
So it's good that God is all powerful and decrees that certain events will take place. And it's also
Dude, stop. Just answer Parker's. I hate
I'm trying to.
No, you're not.
I'm trying to, but I'm trying to do it in a way that is theologically accurate to the best of my ability.
But ultimately,
which
the
means
theological
using more than
accuracy
just
and, like,
5
the-
words.
But the theological accuracy in your description of the answer to Parker's question ultimately amounts to a yes.
Typically, when you answer questions, you would give the answer to the question and then give explanation after. Typically, when people explain first rather than answer first, it's indicative of the fact that they think that there's something like intuitively wrong with their answer.
Okay, just one question before we proceed. I'm happy to keep answering questions with you guys attacking my worldview, but can I be guaranteed some time to go after yours?
Absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
this is the first one I brought up. I just wanted to bring this one point up.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to keep defending mine, but I just do want the assurance that at the end of this, before I get kicked off, that I would at least have some amount of time to go after your guys's.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, so what question do you want me to answer?
So ultimately speaking, you're saying that evil is pleasing to God.
I believe that God decreeing evil events brings him glory because he's able to take those evil events and use them for good.
So the answer would be yes. Evil is pleasing to God.
Depends on what you mean by evil. That's why I have to give that longer explanation, because you just said 3 words, evil is pleasing to God, but it depends on what you mean by evil.
I asked you how you first defined evil. You first defined evil as something that's displeasing to God, correct?
Something that is displeasing to God, yes. So if you're saying that something that is displeasing to God is actually pleasing to God, I would say no. That wouldn't make sense. That'd be a contradiction.
That's okay. So then what you're saying is that inevitably speaking, evil is pleasing to God and it's not displeasing to God.
Can I have a chance to explain with more than like 5 words?
I mean, I never restricted you from using.
I know, but
5
you
words.
guys were kind of strongly insinuating it a second ago that I need to keep my answers shorter than they were. But when I try to make them extremely short, that's where you're able to make these points that you're making where it seems like a contradiction. So if I'm allowed to actually give an answer that's longer than about 5 words, or at least not be pressured into doing so, then I think I can give an answer that would be theologically accurate and not a contradiction. Is it okay if I do that now?
No, what I told you to do was give an answer and then explain after, because typically when people are explaining first and then giving their answer, they think it's either because there's going to be some like missing communication or that they think there's something intuitively wrong with their position.
And then also, just to like add on like another sentence here. So you're seemingly being asked to affirm or reject a proposition, and then based upon what propositions you affirm or reject, a contradiction is then drawn. You seemingly understand that you can affirm and reject particular propositions that do entail a contradiction, and your response as well, instead of explaining to you how it's not a contradiction in the sense of rejecting or affirming a separate and distinct fucking proposition, you say you want to talk more.
Well, no, I want to explain why it's not a contradiction, but in order to do that, I need more time than you're giving me. That's the point I'm making here.
But like typically when you explain why 2 propositions that you affirm as being true simultaneously don't violate like the second law of classical logic insofar as them like contradicting one another, that's not going to involve sophistry as relating to religious beliefs, and it's going to be more of like a logical question.
Okay, so how about you re-ask the question that you think I made a contradiction on, and I'll try to answer it in a way that does not entail a logical contradiction. Does that sound good?
Yeah, go for it, Parker.
Okay.
Okay, so like, so evil is something that's displeasing to God, correct?
Correct.
Okay. But what you're arguing is that evil, all things considered, right, should exist rather than not exist. Like it's preferable for it to exist.
What do you mean by it's preferable for evil to exist?
Is it pleasing to God for evil to exist rather than not exist?
Okay, so it's going to take me some time to explain this. I'm not trying to do it in a way that is sophistry. Is it okay if I take some time to explain this?
Go ahead.
Okay, so does God decree that some people will violate his commandments? Yes. Does their violating his commandments displease him? Yes. At the same time, can God take their sinful actions and use them for good? Yes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but like the position you're then saying here is that, again, God can create a world where there is goodness, but yet exists no evil. But God chooses to create a world in which there is goodness, but also contains evil. So what you're arguing is that good alone is not as preferable as good plus evil. So what does it really mean to say that evil is displeasing to God when it is the case that all things considered, comparing a world in which would exist in which there is only good to a world in which there is good plus evil, somehow the good plus evil is preferable to the world or pleasing to God over the world in which it is just good alone?
Yeah,
because I think you're making a false equivalency with the good plus evil part there. So when you say like the good plus evil part, I don't see that part as the good plus evil, right? When God decrees the sinful actions of man, I trust he uses that for good. So it's not a good plus evil within the Christian worldview. It would still just be good.
Oh, wait, so the world we exist in right now, there is no evil.
No, there is. This is where I think you guys are still not quite understanding the Calvinist view here.
Sure, but like, let me clarify. Again, do you think God, let me ask you this, God existing alone, is that a perfect world or a perfect existence?
What do you mean by God existing alone?
Like prior to creation.
Prior to creation, is that a perfect world?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm not trying to engage in sophistry here, but I'm assuming by perfect, you mean like couldn't be better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so, yes.
Okay, so if God existing alone, it couldn't be better, that existence couldn't be better, well, there's no reason for him to move from that initial standpoint. Actually, you couldn't even say that he would prefer to move from that standpoint. So it's either random that he moved from that standpoint, or there's a contradiction.
So here's where I think you were expecting me to go, but where I'm not going. When I say that in the beginning, when there was God and no creation yet, that it was perfect, I would also still say that even today, God is still all benevolent, or in other words, all good, and it's still perfect because he decreed that it would be this way.
I understand. That doesn't respond to what I just said. If you go from a perfect standpoint to another perfect standpoint, there would be no desire to go from a perfect standpoint to another perfect standpoint because there's nothing more desirable than the perfect standpoint you already existed in. So it is the case that it would just be random that you move from one position to the other one, and it wouldn't be some sort of intentional action of God.
Here's the problem, though. You're assuming when you say that when God first existed prior to creation, that there was no decree, no sovereign decree that would take place throughout history, but there was.
Wait,
that's not responding to my point. No, you're
placing God in time.
Let me explain. Perfect world is the most desirable state of affairs. Okay, God existing alone is the most desirable state of affairs. There can't be something more desirable than that. Right, so you can't say that he prefers to go to a world where there's God plus creation over a world of God existing alone if it is already the perfect world, because that would entail that there's something more preferable than a perfect world. Because here's the contradiction. So it's random that he went from one position to the other one.
It doesn't entail a contradiction. It doesn't entail a contradiction. Here's why. Because when I said that it was perfect when God existed apart from creation, when he existed at that point, he had still decreed that creation would take place. That's why I was able to still say that it was perfect.
Responding, dude,
it is 100% responding to what you said.
Listen, Hayden, there's two perfect worlds. Which one's more desirable than the other one?
They're both perfect, but what you're missing is it's the same world.
Which one's more desirable?
Again, I'm trying to explain this. What you're missing is it's the same world. God, prior to creation, had still decreed that he would create. You recognize that, right?
I don't want to hear anything
it's the
other
same
than a
world.
Response. Okay, so then they're of equivalent value. Do you agree?
Yes, that's what I've been saying the whole time, because it's the same world.
I understand. If they're of equivalent value, the scenario in which God chooses to create rather than to not create, if it's of the same value, then there would be no intentional state of going one way to the other one because God is indifferent.
No, again, what you're missing is when I said that it was perfect prior to his creation, that was because he had still decreed that creation would take place. It's not possible for us to have, for example, a God who would not have created.
Wait, 1 second.
It's not possible for God to not create. Is that what you're saying?
It's not possible that he could have decreed things a different way.
Oh, okay. So then what you're arguing is that God does not have the ability to determine otherwise. So what is determining that God has to create?
His nature and his sovereign decree. Because again, remember when we talked about free will and I defined it as the ability to make uncoerced because remember when I defined free will, I defined it as the ability to make uncoerced decisions consistent with one's nature. His nature includes his sovereign decree. The fact that things would take place in a certain way throughout history.
Okay, so then what you're arguing is
do I get a chance to evaluate your guys' worldview before you guys kick me?
Dude, I've already told you yes.
Okay,
if you'd like
just
to
making
let
sure.
me finish
Just making sure. Go ahead.
Jesus Christ, dude. So again, under your view, what you're not taking into account is that there's no preference from one over the other. You're saying that there's some desire that God has that's ingrained within his nature for him to select one world over the other, indicating that one of the worlds can't be perfect because one would be more desirable than the other one.
This might be
in accordance with God's nature. That's your argument.
No. So again, you're engaging in sort of a false equivalency. So when I said that prior to creation, things were perfect, That didn't change the fact that when I said that, God had decreed creation would take place. So what I'm arguing here is that God is all good, all benevolent, or in other words, perfect throughout history. So not just prior to creation.
I understand what's bad here. Decreeing something to take place in the future is separate and distinct from the actualization of that event occurring. So Parker's positing two distinct, separate state of affairs. A state of affairs in which
two different choices.
A state of affairs in which the decrement of all in which exists hasn't occurred yet, and a state of affairs in which it has, basically before and after creation. And what Parker's saying here is seemingly everything that, like, it was a perfect state of affairs before creation. You're suggesting that it was a perfect state of affairs after creation. So seemingly
there is no intentional
creation
state to
was
go
random.
from one to the other, because creation would be random. Then that contradicts the story in the Bible, because it was an intentional state for God to go from one to the other one, indicating a preference.
And then also, just to point out, like, you said that the current state of affairs is, like, all things considered, perfect. Would you say that God can have an aversion to perfection?
What do you mean by that? God can have an aversion to perfection. What do you mean by perfect in that scenario?
The same type of perfection in which you've already defined can't be better. Would God
can't have an aversion to himself, to his own sovereign decree. That wouldn't make any sense.
So God can't have an aversion, a distaste, a disdain, a dislike towards perfection. So you said that the world we live in now, it's all things considered perfect, meaning Holocaust, slavery, all things considered perfect, meaning God doesn't have an aversion to the Holocaust or slavery.
Did I ever say that we were perfect, or did I say that God's decree is perfect? Those are two different
Rizzy,
things.
Thank you so much for the flying jets. I do appreciate you so much for the love. You said that the current state of affairs is perfect, which would include...
I said that God's sovereign decree is perfect. I didn't say that humans' sinful nature, their sins against God, are perfect. Two different things. Holocaust is sinful.
So then just correct me, man. Holocaust, all things considered, perfect or imperfect?
Depends on what you mean by Holocaust, all things considered, right? If you're saying the actions, if you're saying the actions of the human beings in violation to what God has commanded, no, that's obviously not perfect. That's evil.
So the action of Hitler, all things considered, imperfect or perfect?
Imperfect, sinful.
Okay, all right. So God sovereign. So God decreed something that all things considered is imperfect. So a perfect creator can decree something that's imperfect.
Sorry, I may not have been paying attention when you said all things considered there. It all depends on what perspective you're talking about from here. When Hitler and all these people...
All things considered perspective.
Let me finish. Okay, so when Hitler went and killed a bunch of people, he sinned against God. That said, will God take Hitler's sinful actions and use them for good? Yes.
I'm asking you a very simple question. Stop off.
And I just answered it.
Okay,
I'm not obfuscating.
No, you didn't, because first you said that it was all things considered imperfect. I detailed to you how that entails a contradiction, and you're like, well, maybe I didn't understand the stance. So now that I've been able to describe the stance to you in a way that you now
Dean
understand
also told you the perspective, right? Like, you asked
Yeah.
him for the perspective, but he did tell you, he said all things considered would be the perspective.
Yeah. So all things considered, the actions of Hitler, that God decreed, right? Imperfect or perfect in this all things considered sense.
In the all things considered sense, I'm assuming you're saying from the perspective of God, correct?
The all things considered sense would entail in consideration of all other relevant facts.
From whose perspective?
I mean, I think that in this
God, because that's the determination of morality for you.
So God decreed that would take place. That doesn't mean that what they did was...
I didn't ask you. I asked you if it was all things considered perfect or imperfect. Answer, or I'm going to kick you. Oh my God. Like, dude, rattles my...
Sorry, I thought I was going to get the notification for the unmute thing again. I'm not used to pressing the button. Okay, so why don't you repeat the question again to me? The problem, though, is when you say all things considered...
Hayden, if I have to repeat it for a fourth time, because we're on our third time right now, I'm just going to kick you. I'm going to make that...
Okay, so I don't get a chance to cross-examine your worldview, do I?
If you happen to not answer the question, you won't.
I'm trying to clarify the answer. Not everything can be answered in a yes or no.
We've already clarified on this like 4 times. And for the first 3 times, man, I was more than happy to clarify on it. I generated the sense. I told you from the perspective. I'm making it so abundantly clear. But the waters are just getting a little bit too muddy for me to consider this a productive, intellectually honest conversation
So you're running.
I will give you one. I'm not.
So you're going to run. So you're going to run. So you're going to spend. So you're going to spend about an hour trying to examine my worldview, and then right before I get a chance to examine yours, you're going to run. You're running, Dean. You're running.
The reason why I'm not running is because I'm making my intentions clear while also allowing you one last opportunity to answer.
Okay, I'm going to answer, but I'm not going to answer with a yes or no because I can't answer yes or no in a way that's theologically
Well, the
accurate.
funny thing is it wasn't a yes or no question.
Okay, great.
So I'll now go ahead and repeat my question.
Okay.
So the question is, in this all things considered sense, were the actions of Hitler perfect or imperfect? This question is predicated on you earlier saying that our current state of affairs is perfect.
God's decreeing whatsoever comes to pass, including the Holocaust, is perfect. That doesn't change the fact that Hitler and everyone who murdered people were sinful, committed sins, and will be held to account before God for their uncourse decisions consistent with their sin nature.
Perfect. So all things considered,
My turn now, right?
we're perfect. No, because I'm generating an argument with this.
Okay, I'm just kind of curious, at what point in time, because it's been about...
Phenomenal. So now you've told us that all things considered, the Holocaust is perfect. That's fucking insane. Can we just take a step back and realize that?
Kelly, thank you for the $6.66. Thank you so much for shitting Nicole. Thank you for the $5. Thank you. And Anthony, thank you for the $10. Thank you so much.
I feel like that's really important to denote is that it's absolutely insane to say all things considered, the Holocaust is perfect. All things considered, God could never have an aversion to the Holocaust, which would be the illogical implication of you telling me that God can never have an aversion towards perfection. All things considered, slavery is perfect. All things considered, murder is perfect. All things considered, abortion is perfect. These perspectives are genuinely insane.
You could just ask him if you had a button in front of you that could have prevented the Holocaust.
You want it because
right?
it was
Would you
perfect.
have done it?
Dean, you care about Holocaust?
Hayden, can you answer the question? If you had a button in front of you, I'll let you ask a question right after. I don't mean to be rude.
Okay.
The button in front of you that says, and you press it, the Holocaust does not happen. Would you do it?
Yeah, I'd press the button so the Holocaust doesn't happen, of course.
Okay, so then you would engage in the action under your perspective, if you were rational, would be less preferable, all things considered.
No, so my action would be preferable because it's consistent with God's prescriptive will, which is what us as humans are responsible for knowing. I'm not responsible for knowing God's decretive will. I'm responsible for obeying his prescriptive will.
Okay. So God specifically would put you in I guess you would then say that the question that is being posed would entail a contradiction because anything alternative to what occurred, right, is impossible. Is that what your position is?
Yeah, anything. It would be
only one possible world.
Yeah, so exactly. There's only one possible world. It would be impossible for what occurs in history to not happen as a result of God's decree, right? If we were to say that, then we would assume that God is not all powerful, which he's described as being.
Sure, and so then my question would be if you have no ability to determine otherwise, can you please explain to me how that would be free will from God's perspective, how God has free will?
Sure. So God has free will. Remember how I defined free will as the ability to make uncourse decisions consistent with one's nature. It's in God's nature to decree things the way that he chose to, the way that he did. So it's not as though God could have decreed that, for example, his prescriptive will. Are you going to let me finish?
Can you tell me what a choice is?
A choice? Decision.
Yeah, and you'd have to be able to choose either or in order for there to be an actual decision.
You'd have to be able to choose either or in order for there to be an actual decision. I'm willing to follow that down the line, but it might depend on what you mean by choose. But I'll for now say yes.
You either do or don't do is at least a choice, right?
Yep.
You have the ability to do either or.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then God doesn't have any choices?
What do you mean by that? He doesn't have any choices?
Because he couldn't have done otherwise.
Well, remember how I defined free will, the ability to make uncourse decisions consistent with one's nature. So he has the ability to make
free will. I'm talking about choice.
Yeah. So he has the ability to make decisions consistent with his nature. Does that make sense?
So he can't choose because you said choosing requires the ability to do otherwise.
Kelly, thank you for the $6 and the 66 cents on Venmo. Jessica, thank you for the $5. Natalie, thank you for the $5. Garrett with the $5. Tessa with the $25. Sarah with the $5. Morgan with the $5. I appreciate you guys for the love.
So
after you answer, thank you so much, Sid. Thank you so much.
Yeah, after you answer this question, I'm kind of done with it unless Parker has anything else to say.
I think he wants to run something on us, so we'll let him do that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Hayden.
Sorry, can you repeat the question? There was a lot of shouting out the Venmos and stuff, so I just didn't quite need to repeat it.
To be totally honest, I kind of forgot. Dean, do you remember what we were just saying?
You were trying to achieve.
Oh, we're talking about choices. A choice requires the ability to do otherwise. Do you agree?
That a choice requires the ability to do otherwise.
Hillary, thank you for the $5 something.
I would say no.
No? Okay, can you tell me what a choice is?
Actually, you're right. Yes, I would agree with that. Yep.
Okay, so then God doesn't make any choices because he does not have the ability to do otherwise than he did.
No. So a good example of this might be helpful for you guys in understanding my definition of free will as well. So when we talk about the ability to make uncoerced decisions consistent with one's nature, when God decreed that things would take place a certain way, it's not as though he could have done a different choice there, decreed them to take place a different way, because it wouldn't be consistent with his nature. And in the same way, for example, when people sin, they're doing that in accordance with their sin nature, right? So if I had a vulture and there was a bowl of dead, rotten meat and a bowl of cereal, the vulture would choose by his very nature the bowl of rotting meat every single time. And sure, he would technically have the choice between those two decisions, but by his very nature, he'd choose one every time. And so when I talk about, for example, a human being who is choosing to sin every single time as a result of his sin nature, apart from the grace of God, that would still be, in my view, an example of him making a decision, making a choice. And in the same way, when it comes to God, he's always going to make the choice the choice that is consistent with his nature,
So
with
then
his good character.
Then what do you mean by ability?
By ability?
Yeah, define ability.
Yeah, so the ability to make in what context do you mean ability here? Just trying to clarify.
Ability to choose otherwise. So when you say that you define free will as the idea that you can make uncoerced decisions in accordance with your nature, but in accordance with God's nature, he could only make one choice, but he somehow still has the ability to choose otherwise. Well, I fail to see how, in any sense of that term ability, that statement is true. Because when you say that goodness is a necessary attribute of his property, it's essential. All that you're saying is that it's logically impossible for God to choose otherwise.
Yeah,
if it's logically impossible for God, if it's logically impossible for God to choose otherwise, then in what
that
sense
entails
does
that he
God
doesn't have the ability to make
choose
choices. Yeah, you don't have choices.
Does the
God has no
hang on.
choices.
No, so going back to the vulture thing, does the vulture have a choice in regards to the cereal versus the red meat?
No, in the way that you'd find it, the vulture wouldn't have a choice, because you said in the nature of the vulture, they can, logically speaking, only choose the rotten meat. No, the vulture wouldn't have the ability to choose otherwise.
Yeah, if it would be contradictory for them to do otherwise. But the point is that it's not contradictory, so you would say that yes, they do have a choice. But from your perspective, it is contradictory for God to do otherwise. You said in order to have a choice, you have to.
There's only one
otherwise.
sovereign decree.
If God does not have the ability to do otherwise, God does not have any choices. And then
So-
what does it mean to say that God chose to create the world? What does that even mean?
Okay, so let me clarify again, right? So in the case of choices, if you're saying, could God have had a different sovereign decree? The answer would obviously be no. There's only one sovereign decree that God has. Or for example, if you were to say, could God have chosen for the greatest commandment, instead of being love the Lord with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and the second being like it, love your neighbor as yourself, could he have chosen to make that commandment instead hate your neighbor instead of love your neighbor, right? The answer would be no, because there's only one sovereign decree. And
Brooklyn,
that
thank you
choice
so
to
much
say
for
hate
$20
your
on
neighbor.
PayPal. I really appreciate you for the love, Brooklyn. Thank you so much for the love. We're just going to skip past the dialogue. The point is, what do you mean by God has the ability to choose otherwise, when it is literally logically impossible for God to choose otherwise? That's why I asked you to define ability. I think the current pressing question on our minds is to define ability.
Okay. I mean, in what sense?
In the sense that you
were just
mean
using
when
it.
you say God has the ability to choose otherwise.
Sure. He has the ability to choose otherwise, but he has only one
I'm asking you to define ability.
choice. Option.
Define choice.
Wait. Yeah, because choice is the ability to do otherwise.
Wait. So when you define ability as choice. So when you say ability to choose otherwise, you're just saying choice to choose otherwise. So define choice.
Okay. Do you want me to try to clarify what I'm getting at here?
No, I want you to define it.
Define choice?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm just going to literally pull up the dictionary definition for this then. An act of selecting or making a decision when faced with two or more possibilities.
Okay, so
There is
two
no
or more
true
possibilities. Holy shit, there's not. There's not.
There's only
It is
one.
literally, it is logically impossible. God does not have two or more possibilities, and you actually said that yourself. Remember when you said that the world we live in is the only possible world, meaning that there has never been more than one possibility? In accordance with your own beliefs that you have shared with us on the live, God don't have free will.
Okay, so I'm going to respond to this, and then can I have a chance to?
Sorry.
Okay, I'm going to respond to this, and then can I have a chance to examine your worldview?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
There is no response. You have to concede.
No, I don't. So
let's see it.
Okay, so going back to the vulture thing, right? Let's say that we have 5 different bowls, or even an infinite amount, not an infinite. I guess, yeah, we can use an infinite amount of bowls, right? The vulture by its very nature is going to choose the rotten meat over Cheerios and Lucky Charms, right? You agree with me on that?
Yes, because if we're framing this vulture to be analogous to God, would you agree that it would have to be logically impossible to choose any other bowl?
No, it wouldn't have to be logically impossible.
Hayden, we wouldn't agree because it is logically possible for the vulture to pick something other than the rotten flesh.
Mm-hmm. So that's why I say in order for it to be analogous, it has to be logically impossible.
Yeah, it has to be logically impossible.
Okay, so let me lay out the vulture analogy, and maybe you can try to explain with me what's wrong with it, because I don't think that criticism makes quite sense to me. So the vulture by its very nature is going to choose the rotting meat as opposed to the cereal and the Cheerios and the Lucky Charms, right? By its very nature, he will choose that. No one has to coerce him to do it.
Okay, are you gonna? Is this it? Have you done explaining that?
Well, we're not talking about free will. We're talking about choices.
Yeah, because the difference is that it's logically impossible for God to do anything but what God has done.
Anything but what he has decreed, yeah.
Okay, and remember when you said a choice is having 2 or more possible options?
No, so I still think that you're not necessarily getting what I'm saying. Let me try explaining it one more time.
No, because you're not getting what I'm saying. You agreed that God has only ever had one possible option, and you define choice as having 2 or more possible options.
No, so maybe I'm just not doing a good job explaining it.
Wait, reject the premise. Premise number one, choice necessarily includes 2 or more possible options. Premise number 2, God does not have 2 or more possible options. Conclusion, God does not have choice. Now this 2-premise syllogism is valid, and I think it's sound. If you don't accept the conclusion, reject the premise. And we're doing this super fucking format.
Cyber deconstruction.
Okay, so premise 1, let me make sure I've got them right. Premise 1 is choice includes 2 or more options, right?
Choice necessarily includes 2 or more options. Yep.
Okay, what was premise 2?
God does not have 2 or more options, possible options.
Okay.
Conclusion, God does not have choice.
So I would disagree with premise 2 there, that God doesn't have 2 or more options.
Okay, awesome. So here's the thing.
And you're not a Calvinist, right?
Here's the thing.
No, I am.
I could explain to you how that's how you disagreeing to that premise is unwarranted. Everything that God has done, could God have done otherwise?
It depends on what you mean by could he have done otherwise.
Was it
the answer would be
possible?
So I would say as a Calvinist that no, he couldn't have done otherwise because it would violate his sovereign decree.
Okay.
But,
so in other words, there's only one action in these individual scenario that was logically possible, right?
There's only one logically possible world.
There's only one logically possible world. So any other, right, selection of choice was logically impossible, meaning there's only one selection of choice that's logically possible, right?
So again, I'll try explaining this for the 3rd time, right? So God can't have his decree violate his nature and character. So in other words, he couldn't have decreed that instead of love your neighbor, it would be hate
So
your
then he didn't
neighbor.
have 2 or more possible options.
Well, no,
Yes.
So, okay, maybe this is just like something that maybe I need to study more as a Calvinist to explain it better.
Was it possible for God to change the commandments?
No, he's unchanging. He's a keeper
So he
of his
only
word,
had
keeps
one
his
possible
promises.
option, right?
There's only one sovereign decree.
Okay, so he only had one possible option, right?
What do you mean by there's only one possible option?
There was nothing else that could have been done that was possible to do.
There's no possible way for God to violate his own sovereign decree, if that's what you're asking.
So he only had one possible option.
Oh, hold up. So no, the point we're saying, it doesn't just have to be looked at in terms of law. Law could be the same way, but you can make other choices, right? It could be logically contradicting to violate the law, right? But you could do other types of actions. You could have choices in other scenarios. We're saying in any scenario, is it the case that God could choose otherwise in anything he's ever done?
No, it would violate his sovereign decree.
So God is only
God
allowed
does
one
not have
possible option.
choices.
Okay, watch this. Premise number 1, choice necessarily includes 2 or more possible options.
Mhm.
Got it? True or false?
Premise 1, choice includes 2 or more options. True.
Premise number 2, God has only ever had one possible option.
So again, this is where I'm disagreeing with premise 2. So let me try.
So God has had more
Can I
than one
finish?
possible option?
So there is more than one, for example, bowl, right? So if you have all of the bowls represent different ways that he could have decreed certain things to take place. There are multiple bowls. I would affirm that there are multiple bowls.
Me too.
However, by his very nature,
he could only possibly choose one.
He's only going to choose one.
But it's
there
only
is
possible.
only one sovereign decree.
But is it possible to choose more than one? Or were all those other bowls impossible to choose?
Well, by the very nature of the analogy, it's not possible for there to be more than one world, right? There's only one world.
You could say that there's other bowls that were impossible to choose. The point is there's only one bowl that was possible to choose, right?
No, there were multiple bowls, right?
But
there were
that's
multiple
not
bowls that could have been chosen. But
how
by
many
his own-
how many of those
Oh my
bowls were
goodness.
possible to choose?
All of them.
Oh, so there's multiple possible
hang on.
realities.
Let me try to.
So when you when you say that more than one bowl is possible, you're implying that there's alternate versions of reality in which the bowl was chosen.
Let me correct what I just said there.
That's how we're using worlds.
Yeah, let me correct what I just said there, because I think I probably made an error. So what I would say is, yes, there are multiple bowls. God is only going to choose one bowl, and it's the bowl that's consistent with his nature and character.
That means that there's only one bowl that was possible to choose, right?
In the sense that he wouldn't choose to choose a bowl that is not consistent with his nature.
So
and
there's
character.
Wouldn't and couldn't are different. Do you agree?
God
wouldn't
couldn't.
and couldn't are different.
Would it be a logical?
Yes, I would agree. I would agree. Wouldn't and couldn't are different.
Would it be a logical contradiction to choose any other bowl?
What do you mean by a logical contradiction?
It's
I think
contradicting to his nature.
I think Parker is going down the right road here. That wouldn't and couldn't are two different things. So if you're asking me, could God have chosen a different bowl, or in other words, does he have choice?
Would choosing
Yes.
another bowl be
if the
contradictory to his nature?
Hang on, let me try to address what Parker said a second.
Dude, it's so
But if the
fucking
question-
simple. I'm done with the damn sophistry. No, I'm fucking done with this shit.
Wait, Dean,
I don't care. I'm crashing out. I'm done with this shit.
I understand.
This is
Here,
stupid.
let me clarify. So what he's saying is that God wouldn't choose otherwise, but he can possibly choose otherwise. So but that sounds like you're not a Calvinist then, because then you're not saying that there's only one possible world. You're saying there are many possible worlds. It just happens to be the one that God chose. Like this.
So I think one thing that I think we might be sort of talking past each other here on is when we say God's decree from like our perspective as people on earth versus God.
We need to talk about possibility there. So there's three senses of possibility: physical possibility, a logical possibility, and what's the third one? Epistemic possibility, right? So what
You got to mute me. I
modality
was
of
5 words into my
possibility?
response.
So when you say it's possible for God to choose another gold, what modality of possibility? Metaphysical possibility.
Okay, I'm going to continue talking to Parker and addressing his could and would.
No. You said it's possible for God to choose another bowl. The term possible, what mode of possibility exists there? Logical, metaphysical, or physical?
You interrupted me as I was trying to address what Parker said. I'm going back to
tell me the mode of possibility now, because any mode of possibility would imply another possible world. What
Why
mode
are you
of
so
possibility?
rude to your guests?
Because this is a clear-cut contradiction. This contradicts what you said. You said this is the only possible world, but then you're saying there's other possible worlds. So you are either equivocating on the definition of the term possible, or you have a contradiction in your stance. What form of possibility are you implying? Is it physical, metaphysical, or logical?
I'm not responding until I get to respond to Parker.
Okay, if you're not responding, I'm kicking you. You either respond or you get kicked. The reason why I'm being so fucking blunt, straight up, and fucking bullet focused on this is because this is a contradiction. You said this is the only possible world, but God has a possible choice outside of this world. If this was the only possible world, any choice outside of this world would be impossible. That is what you mean when you say this is the only possible world. So, when I am asking you what form of possibility is implied with a statement that other choices are possible, this is to isolate for the equivocation of the terms you're using. So now please inform me, when you say God could have possibly chosen another bull, what mode of possibility are you referencing? Physical, metaphysical,
Can I respond?
or logical?
Can I respond now?
Yes. What mode of possibility are you referring to when you say God could have chosen another, or the other bulls were possible for God to choose?
All right, so I'm going to go back to the distinction between could and would, because I think that's how I can best explain this, and that's also what I was just talking
We are
about with Parker
talking
before you
about
decided to
could.
interrupt.
We are talking about could.
Are you
When we
going to let
talk
me
about
finish, dude?
possibility,
You've got to let
we're
me
talking
finish.
about could.
I got 5 seconds into my response, and you had to jump back in after I let you talk for 3 minutes. Are you going to let me finish,
I'm
dude?
clarifying. We're talking about coulds. Possibilities are coulds, buddy.
Okay,
Keep up.
how about you let me?
What kind of possibility
Let me
is
talk
it?
for more than 5 seconds, and I can explain.
I
You
don't
let me
want an
talk for more than 5
explanation.
seconds.
I want you to tell me what mode of possibility exists with the other bulls.
So I'm going to speak calmly here and try to get you to settle down a little bit so that I can have the time to respond. So
I'm locked in.
There's a difference between could and would. Let's start there. So in terms of the
Irrelevant. We're talking about coulds. That's what possibility means. When you say there's other bulls that are possible, what do you mean by possible? Sorry. I'm sorry. I interrupted you. Once again, I'm the bad guy, but I'm the bad guy for a good reason. The good reason for me being a bad guy in the scenario is just the fact that I'm asking a simple question, and the whole could-would thing doesn't fucking matter, because when we speak on possibilities, we're speaking on coulds. What kind of possibility are you referencing with the other possible bulls? Is it physical, metaphysical, or logical?
Do I get a chance to respond now?
Yes.
Okay. So when we're talking about the bowl analogy here, the other bowls would represent different ways that God could have decreed that things take place. Now, because there is only one sovereign decree and God has a specific nature and character, he would only choose one of those bowls. Does that make sense?
So this is why I've interrupted you every time, because I wanted to spare that time from being wasted because you didn't answer my question. You said there's other possible bulls. What was that possibility? Physical, metaphysical, or logical?
Dean, I'm not even sure you know what you're talking about at this point.
I do. You implied the term possibility. When we're talking about possibility in epistemic philosophy, we have three senses of it. Right? We have a physical possibility, which means, is it possible with the physical laws as bound by nature? We have metaphysical possibility, which means it exists in a possible world. Or we have logical possibility, which means it's not contradictory. These are the three modes of possibility. In fact, you could fact check that I know exactly what I'm talking about by looking it up. Just look up three modes of possibility in epistemic philosophy. I know what I'm talking about. So now tell me, when you say there's other possible bulls, which mode of possibility are you talking about? Physical, metaphysical, or logical?
So I'm not as familiar with the modes of philosophy, so I'm certainly willing to acknowledge you probably know more about the modes of philosophy than me. Based on your description of them, my best estimate or whatever as to which they would fall under would be metaphysical. But again, I'm not quite certain on the definitions of all three, though I appreciate you trying to give me your best definitions of each of those. I would have to sort of go on the basis of those that you gave me, and I would say, based on those descriptions, metaphysical would probably make the most sense.
Okay, here's a contradiction in two premises and a conclusion. Premise number one, metaphysical possibility is the existence in a possible world. Affirm or reject?
Let me make sure I got it right. So metaphysical possibility is the existence of a possible world?
The existence in a possible world.
In a possible world. Okay. And what's your question on that? Do I affirm or deny that one?
Yep.
Is the existence in a possible world? See, it would seem to me that a better... Okay, just one question there. I'm not trying to be difficult here. I'm trying to keep the conversation civil. Would metaphysical possibility is the existence of a possible world? What would be the distinguishing part between those two? Because it would just seem to me that if we're saying...
because the existence of a possible world where it occurs, or the existence in a possible world where it occurs, term is being used synonymously. Do you accept or reject?
Okay. If we're saying metaphysical possibility is the existence of a possible world instead of in a possible world, then I'm more comfortable proceeding with that premise. I'd say saying metaphysical possibility is the existence of a possible world. I'm okay with that one. Yep.
You affirm it. Oh, now this is the zinger. This is the real zinger. You know what premise number 2 is? I'll tell you. Premise number 2. The only possible world that exists is the world we live in. Do you affirm or reject that? Right, you actually stated this earlier, so you affirm it, right?
So let me just make sure I've got it right. So premise 2 would be the only possible world that exists is the world that we live in.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably say the only possible world that exists is the world that we live in. I'd agree with that. Yep.
Yeah, because you said it earlier. Now, here's the thing. The conclusion of this would be anything that hasn't or won't occur in the world we live in is not metaphysically possible.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm a Calvinist.
Great. So earlier, when we're talking about all these other possible bowls, or in other words, the possible choices God can make, there's only one. That one bowl would be the choice that was made in the world we live in. All the other bowls, all the other choices would be metaphysically impossible.
Yeah, sure. I mean, even if I was willing to grant that, that would just have meant that I was wrong 20 minutes ago.
Great. It says more than that. It says more than that. So you grant it, right?
Well, remember how I said if in the beginning there? I said...
No, do you grant it?
Are you going to... Okay, you don't got to treat me like a dog, dude.
Do you grant it or do you not?
Do I grant what? The premises and the conclusion?
Yep.
Okay, can you repeat the conclusion back? I didn't have that one typed out.
Okay, phenomenal. The conclusion would be, of the 2 premises that I gave you, the only things in which are metaphysically possible is what has occurred or what will occur, as the only possible world we live in is the one that exists.
Yeah, I affirm that. That's consistent with my view of God. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So earlier, when you said that God has 2 or more possible choices, you were lying, because God only has one possible choice, and that's what actually happens in the world we live in.
No.
That's the contradiction. That's the contradiction, buddy. In any state of affairs where one must do something, there is only one metaphysically possible thing that can be done. And the one metaphysically possible thing that can be done is what was done or what will be done. There is no other possible things to do, as there is no other possible worlds.
Okay, so do I have a chance to examine your worldview now?
After you concede on the contradiction, I got you in. Very firm contradiction. Clear as day contradiction. Perfectly described contradiction. I mean, beautiful.
No, I would deny that Calvinism is a contradiction.
Well, I told you what the contradiction is. You believe God has choice. You believe there's 2 or more possible choices that could be made in any state of affairs. However, only possible world.
I thought I got banned. I was scared.
However, you believe that the only possible world that exists is the world. And what this tells us is that there is no other possible choices, as there's no other possible worlds, and you define possibility predicated on the existence of another possible world. That's the contradiction. You will not be able to describe how it's not a contradiction. You have to concede. Logically, that is.
Okay, let me see if I can describe to you what my view in Calvinism as far as like the sovereign decree and how that plays out in history is. And I want you to tell me if you think that relates to... Dude, can you stop interrupting for more than 3 seconds, please? Please.
No. The reason I am interrupting is because I gave you a set of premises that entailed a contradiction. You explaining all of that other garbage isn't rejecting any of the premises. So you either have to explain how the argument is not valid in a philosophical sense, or you have to reject the premise.
Okay, so here's how I would respond to that. For one, I'd point out that even if I grant what you say, all that would show then would be that God had only one choice, I guess, as far as how the way things would play out in history, and it could have been something else. Now, as a Calvinist, the way that I would look at this,
that statement's a contradiction.
Dude, oh my goodness!
That statement's a contradiction. That statement's a contradiction. That statement is a contradiction. You're writing all of my arguments down on a Google Doc. Earlier, you accepted that choice was defined as two or more possible outcomes. He doesn't have one choice because there's not two.
Sid, thank you
or
for the
more
$25
possible
on Venmo.
outcomes.
Thank you so much, Sid. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Sid.
It's not that he has one choice. It's that he doesn't have choice.
Okay, so let me just try to
God doesn't have choice
can
is the conclusion.
Okay, so let me ask you this. If there's a bowl in front of a vulture, one has cereal, one has meat, it chooses meat every time. Is there a choice for the vulture or no?
There's a choice for the vulture. There's not
Okay.
a choice for God. Because
And that's where you fall
the
apart.
other
That's where you
bowl-
fall apart,
No, it's not where I fall apart because the other bowl was possible for the vulture to choose, but the other choices, the other bowls for God, are not possible for God to
But
choose.
hang on. But the vulture would never choose the cereal, right? It always choose the meat.
Yep. You
Okay,
can
and in the
say
same
that
and in the
as
same
long as
way,
the other
and in
bowl
the
is
same
possible.
way, and in the same way, God would never decree, for example, instead of saying love your neighbor, hate your neighbor. There's only one decree. He'd always choose the same bowl. That's what you're missing, Dean. You just completely contradicted yourself.
Nope.
Wait, hold on.
Wrong.
Hold on.
Because the
Parker,
other bowls aren't
Hold up,
possible.
So again, you agree that it's logically possible for God to have done otherwise?
I'm sorry. I'm not fucking doing this again. He rejected that, Parker. I
just want to clarify.
for the fucking fifth, sixth, seventh
I
time.
get it. Hayden, do you think it's logically possible that God could have done otherwise?
No, because it's not consistent with his own nature, just like it's not consistent for the vulture's nature to choose the cereal. Does that make sense? I think Parker gets what I'm saying here.
No. But so then what you're saying and why it's not comparable to the vulture scenario is what Dean is saying, is that because the vulture, it's logically possible for them to do otherwise, but it's not logically possible specifically for God to do otherwise, because it's not necessarily only their nature to choose the meat over like other sorts of like things like cereal. Like
Let's
it's
see how
logically
good faith.
possible for them to do otherwise.
Let's see how good faith he is. Hayden, you've written down both of the two premise syllogisms I've given you. Go back to the first premise of the first syllogism and read it out.